What's going on? Decided to come on live. Didn't really see anybody that pretty much fancy to listen to. So I just decided to go live. Uh that maybe your favorite content creator will go live that once they see me live. that's usually that's usually what happens, you know. Um so maybe I might be helping you out if you up and looking for somebody to go live. Might help you out. Um I guess I'll talk about what's going on in the Chicagoland area. So I think today they had the Democratic convention in Chicago. Chicago is like a that's a demo that the base of the Democratic Party is in Chicago. It's been like that for a long time. Chicago is Illinois. It has a lot of Republicans downstate, up north near Wisconsin, but Chicago is a strong capital base of capital, and it's been a Democratic stronghold for a long time. I don't know how far back, but I want to say definitely going back to the 50s. The Democratic Party is been had a foothold in Chicago. So apparently it was some dude that some like I want to say he's like an influencer. He's like an influencer, guys. I think he goes by I think Jamal Green or something like that. He got into it with Roland Martin at like a convention event or whatever, or maybe it was like a pre-convention party or something like that. They had words because Roland Martin, I guess, was talking some stuff online, and he caught him, at the little pre-party or whatever, and they had words. Um, I don't know if I think Roland left or got up out of there. Uh, Roland Martin, actually, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't really know where Roland Martin came from, like out of the blue. I mean, he's from the South, but Roland Martin actually he got his rise in Chicago from a radio station, a black talk radio station called WVON. I used to work for him briefly, did IT work for him. He got his upstart from them. So after he left WVON, he got basically signed to CNN, and it wasn't really good for him because he just I don't know, he just kind of didn't fit in. But he got his start as far as becoming national, as far as like you hearing about him nationally based out of him getting the opportunity in Chicago, because he had like a morning spot in Chicago on WVON, and then he got a gig at CNN, but then CNN let him go. Then he went to News One, which is a black owned basically media network, one of the few national black news networks that's black owned, and he's been there since. And I think he's found his home, so to speak. And a lot of people have they have their words with Roland. I really don't have no problems with the dude. I mean, Roland is, to me, just like a typical kind of black bourgeoisie. Um, he's really more conservative, which a lot of black people are. And when I say conservative, what I mean is pro family, kind of pro even evangelicals, like they go to church, pro family, keeping the family together, staying out of trouble. That's kind of what I think about when I think about, like, the whole idea of being a conservative. Like, most black people, that's just kind of how, if you came from a family that your grandma and grandfather were still together, chances are, you pretty much have a lot of conservative values, which most black people do. At one particular time, black people in America were actually conservative, meaning Republican. They were more or less Republican. Back when, basically, pre 1960, a lot of black people were Republican. Actually, they would even say that the party for the black person was the Republican Party, because the Democratic Party was the party for segregation, Jim Crow, and slavery. So for whatever reason, black people decided to join the Democratic Party because they were offering a lot of government, basically subsidies. And then black people it's kind of like they gave a bunch of black people a bunch of handouts, and then they kind of got hooked on the Democratic Party. That's kind of the short end of the story of that. But I mean, to me, that's not really no news. I mean, I would say more of the news is because I'm pretty much the type of person that I follow the money. I always try to focus in on, basically, the money, what's needed to meet my goals, what's needed to, basically provide myself and my family opportunities, and also, what's going on and stuff like that. And basically, what's going on, as far as what I can see, is that basically people are filing a lot of foreclosures. Foreclosures are spiking across the country. uh it's kind of like, I said this before, it's like they're trying to, it seems like 2008 is trying to creep back up. Like, it seems like it's like they trying to replay 2008 again. Only thing is that it's not that many people that have gotten mortgages. It's not like they gave, okay, this time around you can't blame the mortgage ease or mortgage holders, because pretty much most of the people that got mortgages, they were qualified to get the mortgages. Meaning, post 2008, they came out with the Dodd-Frank Act. The Dodd-Frank Act basically was an initiative, by actually, uh I forgot the names of the guys that came out with it, but basically it was a design to give only mortgages to qualified applicants, meaning you had to have a minimum credit score to qualify for purchasing any type of real estate. Okay, to get a mortgage loan, you had to have at least a 620 credit score. Uh, and if you didn't have that, mortgage companies, banks, they couldn't even talk to you, because if you didn't have that qualified credit score, you could just forget about it. And you also needed other things than that. You needed so much history on the job, or you needed to basically qualify through and through for a mortgage. Well, post or pre 2008, they were giving out mortgages to a lot of different people that just really weren't qualified. I do agree with that. I don't like the Dodd-Frank Act, but I mean, if let's just say this thing is happening again, where it's going to be a whole bunch of people losing their house, which I'm not sure if that's necessarily going to be the case. I hope it isn't, but you won't have the people to blame as far as these people, that just got mortgages and were not qualified. All of these people, pretty much most of them, you can't say that they weren't qualified. Everybody that got a mortgage, for the most part, had to somehow or another qualify for that mortgage. Okay, so can't say that these people were irresponsible, creditors, um, or credit applicants, because they were qualified, to get these mortgages. Even investors, they were qualified to get these properties. So, but yeah, latest news. Basically, there has been some spikes in foreclosure filings, REO filings, meaning basically REOs means that the house went to foreclosure, went through the full process, also went to auction, and the house did not sell at auction. So it just basically was defaulted back to the bank, and the bank is holding the property as a real estate owned asset by the bank. And the reason a lot of times, well, in this case, and this is from basically some lady that it comes up on my feed quite often, where she's a auctioneer. Basically, she initiates helps initiates real estate auctions, basically down south, some mainly in Nashville, Tennessee area. She was saying that because a lot of these houses that come up for foreclosure are recent purchases. So people that bought houses between 2020 to 2023, you want to say, they don't have enough equity in the house, and they haven't paid down the balance of the loan, because they only had the property for a year or two, or less. And another tip, and I didn't even know this. This is kind of news to me. So if you ever went to a foreclosure auction, the initial auction price typically is the balance of the loan. So let's say the balance of the loan that went into default is $50,000, is what's owed. So when the auction starts, the house will basically be started. The listing bid will be $50,000, and because the balances are typically high, because it's a lot of houses that the applicant, basically the mortgage defaulter, didn't have the house for long enough, so the balance is really high. So a lot of people can't really afford, or it to invest that much amount of money. They're looking for something that's kind of cheap and looking for a deal. So they're passing on these properties that have these high balances, so they go back to the banks and become REOs, and basically means that the bank is responsible for upkeeping the property and selling the property. So that's kind of what's going on. Of course, I will say this: I don't have to be any type of expert or anything like this. One of the things I am noticing, and maybe you probably noticed this too, a lot of cars are basically not being sold. People are kind of um, running out of money, and the interest rates on the car loans are high too, just like they are on real estate as far as the mortgage rates or bank rates. So people are not buying cars like that. Typically people buy cars around tax season anyway, and this is a long way from tax season. So yeah, people ain't really buying cars like that. And the cars at one time, they were overpriced. Remember when cars was like way overpriced and stuff like that, even used cars? Those car prices are going to have to drop for those car dealers to sell those cars. And I think that these car dealers are really trying to fight that. They're trying to fight selling their cars for a lower price because they just don't want to. They still want to make that high amount of profit. And the market has to work itself out. One of the things that I do know is that the market always works itself out. It's always going to be people that have money, and things crash. They still gonna be trying to sell stuff. It's not gonna. People are still gonna be trying to sell stuff, and it's like whoever's got the money to buy, they're gonna get. They're gonna get whatever the deals are out there. You know, so things prices are gonna have to come down. It's if there's if it's good because that means it's deflation, or you want to say even stagflation, but stagflation is not good. But these prices have just skyrocketed on everything. And when things get tight, the prices got to come down. Unfortunately, a lot of other things kind of go with that. The biggest thing is layoffs. Companies start laying people off and stuff like that. So yeah, and the AI robots or whatever, I just saw something. I think it was like on Twitter, Amazon. They're starting to basically invest a lot in robots to replace factory workers. So they got one factory where it's mostly all robots. It's hardly any workers in the plant. So it's like kind of like they're trying to replace people, in these Amazon warehouses with robots. You know, so that's pretty tripped out. Of course, Walmart. I've worked at Walmart where I've been help install these checkout machines. That way, you don't have to go to a cashier. You could just go check some stuff out, and then you got one cashier or associate rather that watches everybody, make sure they're not stealing. you know. But some people, it's a tripped out thing about that, right? So I'm in Gary, Indiana, man, and you definitely got to understand that people in Gary, a lot of people in Gary definitely definitely know how to steal. Okay, or get over or whatever. And one dude I know that helped me with my plumbing. He said he put a water heater under a cart, and it was like a bunch of stuff on the cart above the cart, and he was able to walk out of Home Depot in the self checkout with this water heater under the cart. And you talk, I mean, water heaters right now is like $500. So he walked out of the water, he walked out of Home Depot in the self checkout with this water heater. Now the thing is this. What I'm saying is self checkout does, it's not, it's kind of like, okay, they're saving money with having this checkout machine at home, all of these stores, but one person can't watch, four or five people or even more checking out stuff. I mean, somebody gonna slip something, in a bag or whatever. They gonna find a way to slip out, something or whatever, and put something in a bag or whatever, and you're not gonna catch it. The cameras might catch it, but they're not gonna catch it in real time. So self checkout kind of opens up more opportunities for people to steal. So it's like, okay, you might be saving money by not having a few cashiers or several cashiers, but then you got to deal with shrinkage because you got people walking out with merchandise from the self checkout. you know so it's like, yeah, it's like, okay, on one hand you're making money by not having some cashiers. On the other hand, you losing money because you got people walking out the store with merchandise. So it's interesting, very very interesting. um I find myself, man, trying to not use self checkout when I got like over 15 items. I get lazy. I need somebody to check that. I need to go to a cashier. When I got 15 or more items, I may or may not want to go to self checkout. But sometimes, man, self checkout is kind of good because some of these cashiers are so awkward socially. These young people are so socially awkward that if you go to a cashier, they're so socially awkward and sour. You just like, you don't even want to really go to them because it's like they don't say please and thank you. They don't say have you found everything. They're just non-courteous, especially in the hood, especially like in black communities and stuff. They're so sour and just terrible customer service. Like, it's like, you just, I don't know, it's just like an awkward experience, and in order to avoid that awkward experience, it's like, self checkout is like a way to go because you know what I'm saying, you get your stuff and you go, and you ain't got no awkward ass experience with somebody that was not taught how to say hi and bye. Like, I mean, I'm not saying you got to kiss my butt, but at least, I mean, here's the standard customer service experience, like, just standard. I mean, you're not kissing nobody's butt. So a person comes to the register, you're a cashier. Basically all you have to do is say hi. And then the person probably gonna say, hi, how are you? you know And then, you know what I'm saying? Like you start scanning their stuff up. Okay. You scan their stuff up and it, say the total. Okay, they gonna pull out cash or they gonna put out their debit card or credit card. They swipe, you know what I'm saying, the transaction goes zeroed out, successful, approved, or you give them the change, and or whatever the case, they use some coupons or something like that, man. I mean, you just after the transaction is over, say thank you, have a nice day. That's it. Like I know that's a lot to say when you got like a lot of people, but I mean that's just standard. Like you don't just take nobody, you don't just be like act like you're a ghost. Like a lot of these cashiers be acting like they're a ghost. Like they don't say anything when you first start. You come to the register, then they might you have some. I had some where after the transaction is done, they'll be like, okay, thank you, have a nice day. Okay, that's fine. That's like half. That's like half ass, but it's like half awkward. It's like half awkward. But I mean, it's like, man, I mean, at least you could do is say, hi. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's just standard, man. Like, I don't know, man. But one thing I will say in Indiana, I guess it's something to do with the Bible Belt because Indiana is part of the Bible Belt. I do notice in the years that I've been living out here in Indiana, and I fit in well because I have home training. I mean, I grew up in a household that definitely I was taught customer service at an early age because my grandfather had a business, an actual retail store. And I just basically grew up, with a wholesome family and that, was I was taught manners, at an early age. So if I fit in really, really well, because a lot of these people, they mostly everybody just says hi, have a nice day, you know, thank you, have a good one. I mean, they're very courteous. I'm not saying that these people are like, I mean, no, people in Indiana still, they still with the shits and everything. I mean, I'm not saying these people ain't, these people will, bury you in the backyard. I mean, but they're very courteous. I mean, I will say that. Like they have a lot more courtesy than what I'm used to living in Illinois. Mainly everybody in Illinois is like mainly people in Illinois or the Chicagoland area, they have some roots from Chicago or they're from Chicago, and then they moved out in the suburbs. I mean, mostly everybody in Chicago and the Chicagoland area does not really have courtesy. Like if you meet somebody that has courtesy, and what I mean by courtesy is that they, basically are courteous. They have manners. They speak to people. They acknowledge them by saying hello, hi, how are you doing, goodbye, nice to meet you, stuff like that. So like when you meet somebody that's courteous, you like, okay, it's almost like rare, right? And if you do have courtesy, they think you're like they all automatically know that you probably from the suburbs. One, two, they probably think you like a Gump or a Goofy, or they got a new word. The youngsters got a new word. They think you're jolly or something like that, because like most people be acting tough as hell, in Chicago. Like Chicago is very, very tough because the people are just so tough. Um, they're so non-courteous and so rough and tough and all that. And these people, I pretty much kind of mostly stay away from, but that's just how that is. But in Indiana, even in Gary, people are courteous as hell. Now, don't get me wrong; these people, like I say, will bury you in the backyard. They will. I mean, they will absolutely, like, they love guns in Indiana, and you could walk around with a gun with no license. and they won't hesitate to use it. But they're courteous as hell, man. They, a lot of people go to church in Indiana because, like I said, it's a Bible Belt. So these people are very, very courteous. Unlike in what I'm used to in Illinois. So, like I said, I fit in well because that's just how I was raised to have courtesy myself. So it's still kind of awkward because I'm not really used to that. But it's pretty much kind of normalized as far as how these people are. They're very courteous. Um, so it, it's it's kind of what I noticed over the years. These people are very, very courteous, like almost automatic, like with almost everybody. Like they just speak. So not everybody though, but mostly everyone I come across, they definitely speak. Uh, you know, nice. Even if you say something to them or whatever, they pretty. They're not gonna bark at you or nothing like that. But yeah, I still don't really like Indiana like that. Like, I mean, Indiana is a good place to like get lost, or as the young people say, uh, get ducked off. If you want to duck off somewhere, like definitely Indiana is a good place, man. To just duck off. They got a lot of undeveloped land in Indiana because Indiana is not really developed like that because it's like really underdeveloped. So you can get like a house out in the almost country, and you get like a big old house like in a cul-de-sac community, and nobody would know where you live. Like nobody probably would even want to visit you because they don't really like they, what I'm saying, you ducked out in the boonies, and it's like people probably wouldn't even, what I'm saying, they won't be bothering you. They don't know where you are. They ain't gonna be coming to see you. It's like, yeah, it's like Indiana is like one of those places where you just get lost. You wake up and you like old as hell, and you like, damn, you just living in Indiana and shit, like surrounded by soybean fields and shit, and cows and goats and a bunch of farm cats and stuff like that. But I still like Illinois. I like just it just so more people. Um, it's more dense as far as like just houses and the commercial stores and stuff like that. There's attractions. It's faster. It's more capital. Indiana don't really have a capital like that. Like Chicago has. Um, I don't like the taxes in Illinois though. The taxes in Illinois is kind of tough, but I still prefer Illinois, than Indiana. But Indiana definitely is like I said, like if you ever want to have a getaway house, Indiana is the spot. Definitely. Actually, Al Capone, he used to have houses in Indiana, and he used them as a hideaway location. Because he was hiding from the feds, and yeah, he had a house or two in Indiana back in the, I guess that was the 1930s. So yeah, it's still a lot of farmland, a lot of undeveloped like land in Indiana, but they are building a lot of they have already built a lot of houses, and they're still building houses in Indiana because Indiana was so underdeveloped during the housing boom in, was that 2022, 2021. they didn't have enough houses to sell to people. It was so many people looking for houses that in Northwest Indiana, they didn't have enough houses to sell to people. So they were so far behind that they're still building houses. They've been building houses since then, and they still building because it's like a backlog of people that were looking for housing, for new housing, and just even just housing in general. So they just they go. It's kind of strange, right? Because it's kind of weird because it's like this. It's like in some parts in Chicago and where like it's kind of like lower socioeconomic and the black neighborhoods like the south side and west side of Chicago. They have these towns that they call them desert uh food deserts because they don't really have any grocery stores that's in a geographical area like 10 like about 2 to 5 miles. They don't have any grocery stores within that radius, so they have to go really far to get their groceries. Well, that's kind of how it is in Indiana, where they built these cul-de-sac communities, these new housing developments. I mean, they out in the sticks. I mean, they just like out there, and they got these little brand new little small trees. They just built these. They got these brand new houses as people living in, but there's no grocery stores, like nowhere to be found. There's no grocery stores, there's no laundromats. I mean, like the nearest town, like the nearest commercial center is like 5 miles away. The people got money to order stuff in. You got all of these little apps and stuff, shipped and Instacart and all of this stuff, like, and that's kind of what they do. Like they just order stuff off DoorDash and Instacart because if you do live like that, like it's kind of like you in a food desert because ain't nothing nowhere to be found. Like, yeah, you not living in the hood and surrounded by a food desert, but you ain't nowhere near even walking distance to no grocery store, even a restaurant. So you just out there. And I mean, unless you like, only way, I mean, the only thing I think I can think about how they actually that will work, you would have to go to Costco or Sam's Club because it's like you living out in the country because you have to, in order to get everything you need, you probably have to buy it in bulk because how you gonna be going to the grocery store every week and the grocery store like 5 miles away? So I think them people probably have to go to like Sam's Club and Costco, or if they got enough money to order stuff or whatever. I don't know, but they living out there. They out there. I mean, it's like when you go to like Crown Point, Griffith, Cedar Lake, like these all of these developments are like less than 20 years old, and they got these new housing developments, and they haven't modernized. I mean, they not so much modernized, they haven't caught up with the environment yet. Like when you and this is kind of something I may get into when I get on that level, because it's levels with real estate. It's like you start off, you can be like, in the wholesaling or a bird dogger, if you know that term, and then you move up to fix and flip, maybe property management, become a landlord, and then you might move up to commercial properties where you buy, buildings, or you might buy commercial actual stores and stuff like that. Then you go up to like big houses, like maybe mansions, stuff like that. And then you, if you really want to get down you go into like land purchasing, like large land purchasing, and your intentions for these large acquisitions of land is to build a future development, a future cul-de-sac community or even gated community. And basically you have all of these parcels of land, and you have developments on these lands, on this land, where you have different properties, different models. You might even have people that you work with them. You have some type of kind of template of what the house will look like, and then have people to buy into it, and then they build it out. But see, when you doing when this is where you're living, when you're living in places like this, one of the things that people don't understand is, like, for example, where I grew up, Dalton, Illinois. Dalton, Illinois was kind of like that in the 1960s. It was farmland. It was basically mainly white people. It was like people grew onions and stuff, right? Um, and then they build houses and stuff like that after like 1960. They start building houses. People from Chicago start moving out in Dalton, and they start building out the town. It's kind of like the Sims. If you ever played Sims, you already know what I'm talking about. So like, I was born in the 80s, right? So Dalton was already 20 years old by that time. By the time I moved in the late 80s, it was this like flourishing town. It was mostly white. And black people started moving in. They was talking about niggas go back to Africa. Um a lot of a lot of racist epithets I used to hear, let's just say. And then by the 90s they moved out, but you still had like this town where you had everything in the town or the city or whatever. It was already built out. When you move into a cul-de-sac community that's out, let's just say in the middle of the forest, a middle of a forest preserve or something like that. Not so much a forest preserve, just a forest or farmland. These towns and little enclaves of housing developments, it takes decades for them to kind of like have some type of town or town center. They got to build all of that out. They got to build a community around this new housing development, and that takes decades for it to create some type of town center, uh grocery stores, retail stores, parks, or whatever they're going to build in that town. That takes decades. Okay. So if you're okay with like moving out in the boondocks, and you got this like cul-de-sac community, big old houses, or whatever, medium houses, small houses, whatever, and you got the time to actually see how this is going to play out and all of that, man, I wish you the best, man. I ain't got, I'm not, I'm just not into that. Like, that's just like, if I was to do something like that, it's just gonna be a big old stupid house, which they do have a lot of these in Indiana too, that I noticed. You got this little private road, and you got a fence, and you got your big stupid house in the back somewhere, and you really, really ducked out. You living damn near like Batman. So you living like you're on Wayne Manor or something. Now I'm okay with that, but just living in some like cul-de-sac, new cul-de-sac development out in the middle of the forest. I mean, like I said, it takes decades, man, for the actual surrounding area to build itself. To like build, you got to build all of the commercial around that, and all of that type of stuff. And it takes people to actually do that, and it's like, man, it's it's a, you still, you got a nice house, you know what I'm saying? You live around, some neighbors, whatever, and all of that, but they got, it's a nice development, but you ain't got nothing out there. You just got a whole bunch of houses, the roads and stuff or whatever narrow, and you just out there and there's nothing there. It's like, you know, God forbid your car break down, and you know what I'm saying? You ain't got no way to get nowhere. You ain't got no buses to get nothing. You got no you just stuck out in the middle of nowhere, with nothing. Like it just I know why people do that, and I know they're cool with that or whatever. Most people have like two or three cars, maybe even four cars, and people, you can order whatever you want, but just still the idea of that is just, eh, you know, just it's kind of like I said, like you living in a food, like you living in a rich food desert. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's just weird to me, when I really think about it. But it's like, yeah, I mean that's how America is built. Just go buy some houses ducked out, and then he be ducked out, and then basically the town starts to build. Like the Sims. They start to build a recreational center and park, and then they build some type of commercial uh strip mall, and then next thing you know, everybody start move more people start moving in. It's like, kind of like, I don't know, I saw something, it was like, it's like, people just start fucking, and then they start building. I don't know where this was at when I was watching this, where it was like, yeah, they built these cul-de-sac communities, and then they build out next thing you know, strip malls are popping up. That's basically people having babies and stuff like that. And town is growing. I mean, like I say, it takes so long for that to transpire, and it does. I mean, it transpires, but it's like, who wants to be? I just, the idea of being part of some type of Sims new build is just not. That's just not what I'm on, man. I see them houses and I'm like, yeah, they be looking nice, man. Matter of fact, I mean, it be some that, like, in it's like different parts of Northwest Indiana, because I do a lot of fucking food deliveries and shit. So I see these new developments. I'm actually, delivering food there, and some of these places, man, these houses are stupid, like big, like they're big, and then they got like four-car garages, and then basically you drive out of this cul-de-sac community, and you're on this fucking narrow road, and you going through cornfields back to the main area. Like basically, you know um Maryville, Gary is pretty much built out. I mean, well, Gary actually, a lot of Gary is actually abandoned, so that's not really a good example. It's like Gary is actually a reverse neighborhood. I mean, like, or city. It's like a city in reverse. Like, it was built out. It was a big, major city, and then basically became a abandoned ghost town city, and it's trying to come back, and it is slow. But the thing is, like Maryville is close to Gary, and Maryville is one of those cities where it was probably like that, as far as it didn't have anything else, and over the decades it got built out and more denser, and Maryville has everything you pretty much need, as far as a city. Whereas, like, you go further south of Indiana, of Northwest Indiana, you got these new communities where you just they got these houses out in the middle of nowhere. They got the little small trees, and it's nothing there. It's no commercial, nowhere within 5 miles, maybe even longer. And it's just like, yeah, you just out there. But it just goes to show, like, people be acting so crazy about, like, you know, people living in the city that be on top of everybody, and they be all tense and be, people be shooting and fighting in each other and stuff like in Chicago. And it's like, man, America is so freaking big and so underdeveloped, man. All you got to do is like go driving, and then you go to the country or rural area, and then you going for like miles and miles, and it's just like farmland, and it's, then you're gonna see a tractor or something like that. It's like, yeah, America is very, very underdeveloped as far as it's still farmland or open forest, and it's nothing there. Like, and it's like what I'm saying is to say, like, you don't you you might be all pent up somewhere in some location in some city, but man, you with enough money, you could just be ducked out somewhere, and no, like, you can have like no neighbors. You could do the like no neighbor thing, or you could just live in some like cul-de-sac community where it's just you just out there, you just out in the middle of the woods. Like, um it's like your choice, but America is actually mostly rural farmland and forest. It's not all city dwellers and all dense with residential and stuff like it is on the East Coast, or Chicago or Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. Most of America, like I said, is forest and farmland. It even desert when you go, down south. I mean, well, west to like, Arizona, Nevada, Utah. So it's a lot of land. It's nobody hardly there, So it's a lot of opportunity, Um, but like I say, those places, it takes a lot of time for those places to actually build out a sustaining community. It takes a lot of time. So it's like these new sim builds and stuff like that. One of the things will say, like in the western suburbs of Illinois, they rapidly build those areas out. It was a lot of places that they like rapidly build commercial, uh centers and stuff like that. Like, it didn't take them that long. It still took them some time, but they rapidly start building out those environments, because that's what you're doing. You're actually creating a new environment. You're going out in the middle of a forest or farmland or whatever, and you're creating a new environment. You're terraforming the environment. You building new sewage lines, water lines, lakes, ponds. You're building new infrastructure. It's a lot to it. But in the western suburbs, man, them people, they couldn't get away from them Negroes fast enough. On the west side of Chicago, and beyond, like they just moved out, like Plainfield, Naperville, and they built them towns out so quick. um they already had railroads, so like the railroad will go, or they call it the metro in Illinois. It goes to downtown, so people work downtown, and then they live all the way in the far western suburbs. So, but they built the western suburbs fast. Like, I mean, um they just built on top of everything, just like at a rapid pace, and they still building. They're still building a lot of infrastructure, and terraforming the environment. But I mean, real estate definitely is one of my passions, man. I ain't gonna lie, I love me some real estate, man. I'm I mean, it's a thing that I love, but it's also tough though because you got to have money, man. To, deal with real estate is it's a money man's thing. It's a money situation. Like real estate is the probably one of the most expensive endeavors that the average man or woman is going to partake in. Because it's just you're dealing with expenses, that you're dealing with material costs, you're dealing with everything with that involves land and materials and a property, renovation and stuff like that. It's very very expensive. It's the most expensive thing for most people that's gonna, the average person is gonna deal with is property repairs and property repair costs. uh you go walk in any room, you touch something, it's $1,000. That's why I always say any room that you're in your house, you just touch the wall and it's like $1,000, $10,000. Like, I mean, real estate, houses are extremely expensive. Cars are expensive, but houses by far is truly expensive, and unless you're dealing with exotic cars, maybe like a Lamborghini or Ferrari. Houses, man, are extremely, extremely expensive. I mean, if you was able to like do stuff yourself, you can save costs, but a lot of people, they hire people to do stuff. Like, I got my uncle, he built in the garage. I laugh at my uncle, man, because he worked really hard and he saved enough money, and he did the right thing. He's a boomer, but yeah, he did the right thing. He worked for like 20 years, and he retired. He worked over 20 years actually, but like he makes sure he does the right thing with his credit and stuff like that. I tell him, man, that I be joking with him, and I tell him, man, you whip your wallet out like he whips his wallet out like it's a fucking weapon. Any problem he got, he just takes his wallet out like it's Thor's hammer, and he just throws it at the shit. So it's like he built in a garage. The garage is like 20 some $1,000. And he just, building a garage on one of his investment properties pretty much. And it's like, man, I just be laughing at him like, man, anything he tell me, I say, man, just throw your wallet at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, man. And the funny thing about my uncle don't even he's not the most like he when he was working, he didn't even make the most. Like, out of all my family members, he wasn't the top earner. Like my uncle that works in like IT, he makes way more money than my uncle um that I'm talking about, that's got like a wallet like Thor's hammer. Like, it's just because my uncle that work in IT, he spends too much money and he doesn't save. He's not like financially grounded as my uncle that, like I say, is building a garage out. He basically he does everything to please his wife. His wife doesn't work, never really worked, and he just has bad financial luck. Like, had to file bankruptcy, foreclosures. He was out of work for a long time, no savings. It's like, but when he works, he makes like a couple $100,000 a year. My uncle that pretty much got is kind of more of a financial foundation. He never made $100,000 a year. You know, he said, "What's going on? What's going on, seeking my creator? Does the homeowners association black block homesteads?" I'm not sure. In Indiana, they have more freedom when it comes to building homes than let's just say Illinois. I do know that because like in Indiana, they're they have more. flexibility when it comes to what you want to do, as far as what you want to build and all of that type of stuff, because they it's just written in their laws. Like for example, in Indiana, from what I read, I never tried this. If you do own land, you can build something on your land. If because be and it's basically because of like homesteading rights, like you said, homesteading rights. Like you can build like say if you want to build a tiny home on your house, it's in the laws in the Indiana statutes. You can build a house on your land because you have the right to do so. And that was like going back to the 1800s and stuff. So I'm not sure. I've never tried this, so don't quote me on it. But as far as what I know, Indiana does have. I'll just say for Indiana, Indiana has more flexibility when it comes to building than Illinois. Illinois, man, you gotta get union workers. Illinois has a lot of red tape when it comes to like building properties and stuff like that. You got zoning and all that stuff. It gets really really nasty when it comes to like building stuff in Illinois. Man, you got to go through the building commission and all this type of stuff. You got to grease some pockets or some crazy. You got to go through a lot of stuff when it comes to building in Illinois. Uh, but yeah, it depends on what state. I don't know, like as far as like what's involved with that though. you know not quite sure, but what I will say is that where I am at, they're not building houses, so it doesn't call for it. Like, like for example, um if you wanted to build a big old mansion in Gary, Indiana, it just doesn't call for it. Like the property values is what calls for things, or the props, or not so much props but comps, because like for example, Gary, Indiana, it has so many available properties because it's so many abandoned properties. It's not in your best interest to build a house from the ground up, because it's so many properties that are abandoned. You better off just getting one of those and fixing it up, and trying to flip it or whatever, because it's just so many of them. Trying to build a brand new house um doesn't make sense. Indiana has a lot. Gary, Indiana has a lot of problem with abandoned properties. That's not the only problem Gary, Indiana has, but it's one of Gary, Indiana's biggest problems is they got too many properties that are abandoned and commercial properties that are abandoned. They have to. I don't know how they would do it, but what they need to do is bulldoze these abandoned properties, these commercial properties and residential properties, because they just they don't they don't help the greater good of the city, because you got abandoned properties that brings down the price of the overall properties that are surrounded, that are not abandoned, and it's an eyesore, and it's a health hazard because you got animals living in these houses. You don't know what's in these houses. It might be dead bodies that are in these houses. You have no idea what is in these houses, so it's a health hazard. So the thing is that, and I just recently thought about this because some towns do this. A lot of well-to-do towns, this is what they do. They'll actually buy existing properties, and they will either sell them or they will bulldoze the property, and then they'll put a sign up, this lot is owned by the city of Lake Forest or some shit like that. They'll actually, they have so much budget. Some towns, some cities have so much um revenue in their budget that they can actually buy vacant houses or troubled houses, and they can actually deal with them. um that's kind of what Gary actually needs to do, is just they need to just like buy, and they have done this. They've used their money to actually zone particular housing areas, and it just they fence the housing area off, and I don't know, they plan to build something, or some type of park or something. But they just kind of need to like, Chicago, that's what Chicago does. They bulldoze abandoned properties, and they just charge the previous owner for the demolition. And if you can't pay it, I mean, they're not going to go after you. They just seize the land. They basically seize they take ownership of the land by proxy of them. You either pay for the demolition costs, and then you could own the land, and you could build another house on there or whatever. A lot of the places that they do that, you got to think like a lot of the places that they do that, those places, those parts of Chicago are not desirable. So nobody's building, it's parts of Chicago that's like kind of similar to Gary, Indiana. The neighborhood doesn't call for building brand new houses. Like, basically some of the roughest parts of Chicago where a lot of murders and stuff go down. You could say Inglewood, you could say Auburn Gresham, Chatham, where I had my house that got bulldozed, West Pullman, Roseland. These places don't call for building brand new houses on lots. It's just kind of like a lower socioeconomic neighborhood. It's like basically what the city of Chicago does is just they bulldoze the property, and it'll be a lot there. It'll be a lot between another house, because houses run down or whatever. But they'll do it in record fashion. A lot of people will complain, the neighbors will complain, and then they'll eventually bulldoze these houses. Um, and it's in their best interest to do that. The city of Gary just doesn't have the I guess tax base or funding to do that. So what they did was they just let all of these vacant properties build up over time. Some people have bought them and fixed it up, like myself. That's literally what I'm doing now, is fixing up a vacant house that was vacant for like 20 years. And it's like pulling teeth. It's like one of the hardest things I've ever did in my life. I mean, I can't think of anything that I've done that's been harder than this. And I've been through some tough situations in life, and it's just this one of the toughest I've ever been in. But the thing is that they need to start bulldozing these houses. Because when you bulldoze houses, this is what. See, I could be a mayor. I could totally be a mayor. I know I can. Because I know how a city runs. I know how a city works great. If I needed to, I know where to go to actually study. Because see, here's the thing: like a lot of times, people think because you have a black community or a black city that black people can't run a city. That's not true. It's some places in the United States where black people run cities, and they do exceptionally well, primarily on the East Coast in the DMV area. But the thing is that when you start bulldozing houses, basically, if the city, each city is supposed to have a robust housing code, and that housing code is a standard that everybody has to meet. If people don't meet those standards, and if the house is run down and nobody can fix it up, the house should be automatically bulldozed after a period of time. Of course, you're gonna have to show up in court to, for the owner to show up to, present his case or show some attempt, give them the opportunity to try to fix their property up. But if the property does not get fixed up, it needs to be bulldozed. Okay. And the good thing about this, I mean, of course, it's bad because the owner Nobody wants to have their house bulldozed. I mean, I went through it, but the thing is this: it's for the greater good, and the reason why it works well to bulldoze these houses that are abandoned. The thing is that it basically keeps up a housing standard. One, two, it allows it gives people it sets the precedence that you're not just gonna own some property and not fix it up and just basically make the town, because ultimately if this is what happened in Gary, and it's still going on in a lot of parts of the country, Detroit and stuff like that. If you just let a whole bunch of houses go abandoned, basically the whole city will go abandoned. It just sets the tone. Like everything sets the tone for what's going to happen. So if you set the tone for allowing abandoned properties, then everything, eventually you look up, the whole city will be abandoned. So if you bulldoze the houses, another thing that will happen is, these like kind of slum owners, let's just say, one, they won't be allowed to be slum owners, and then two, they won't be trying to be slum owners because they're gonna have pressure under knowing that if they don't keep the property up or fix it up in a minimal amount of time to keep it up to code, or the house will be bulldozed. So it'll give people some pressure to keep up that housing standard, keep up that housing code. That's what housing codes are for. And then three, basically property values will sustain themselves and also even rise because you won't have all these abandoned damn houses. So the thing is that that's just kind of what, it's a lot to go with that. Some of these cities just, like for example Gary, I mean, they don't have the money to bulldoze these houses because in order to bulldoze a house, it costs, I think, about 20 grand, anywhere between 10 to 20 grand to bulldoze a house. And the bulldoze a commercial building, it costs more. I don't know how much more, but it's very, very costly. And when you got a a whole bunch of houses, let's just say like 10,000 houses, that gets pretty expensive. You do the math on that. It's pretty costly. So it's a lot to lot to deal with. And a lot of these properties in Gary, like it's one across the street from me, it's so dilapidated that it kind of goes into like build, like what you was asking about, building a house or whatever for a homestead or whatever, or maybe I was just talking about it. It kind of goes into that realm where if a house is so dilapidated, it's not the fact that the house is dilapidated actually, because construction workers, you got master carpenters, you got master builders, all of that. They can rehab these buildings, these properties. But the reason why they don't do it is just because the market doesn't call for it. Like I say, the market determines everything. Okay, even the real estate market is, it determines what it makes sense to rebuild or not. So if a house is so dilapidated, the cost of rebuilding the house or reconstructing the house, it goes into the price of actually building a brand new house. And like I say, the cost doesn't call for it because it just, no, nobody, you won't real estate is just like, a capitalist system. You want to make a profit, so you're not going to make that much profit rebuilding a house that will cost almost the same as actually building a house from the ground up. So that's why nobody really hardly, the houses that are really really bad shape, they just kind of, wait for them to be bulldozed. A lot of times, and what you see around, Gary, Indiana, is that because the city doesn't bulldoze the house, nature does it. Over a period of time, it's so much rain on the roof, the roof starts collapsing. Then the foundation just starts collapsing. The whole framing of the house starts collapsing, and the nature basically starts bulldozing the house. He said, "Did you go to the downtown, to the DNC area?" Hell no, I didn't. No, sir. Um, I don't know really what happened, but I was hearing somebody saying that the some young people was talking about going down there to rob some stores or something, because they were saying that most of the police was gonna be in the DNC area, the DNC convention area, but I didn't hear anything about any looting or anything. So, but no, I'm not a part of the Democratic Party, and I have no interest to see Roland Martin and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. But I will say I appreciate Joe Biden for helping me wipe out my student loans. That I might have, I might, I might put Joe on the wall of my house, man, when it's done, man. Maybe not, but maybe I might put something up. I don't know. Maybe I might make a screensaver or something on one of my computers. But yeah, man, I really, it's just like, to me, it's like another day. It's like okay, they had a NASCAR event downtown, and I would have liked to go to that, but it's just like, okay, yeah, it happened. I don't know, man. I just kind of be like in a zone, man. I don't really do much, man. I'm kind of boring. That's probably why I don't get that much engagement. I don't really do shit, man. I just be like, man, trying to make some money, you know. It's like Groundhog's Day. It's just be trying to make some money. Then I come home, go to sleep, wind down, fix something to eat, and then go to bed, and then wake up the same thing. Like I don't really do much, man. Occasionally, like I over the weekend, I went to the movies with my daughters. I mean, that was fun. I mean, they bought them something, bought some overpriced popcorn at the AMC movie theater. Spent like spent way too much money. But yeah, I mean, I don't really do much, man. To me, like, if I don't know, man. I just, when I get in the zone and stuff, man, I'm trying to come up. I don't really do that much. But if I had a whole bunch of money, I probably would move around a little different. I probably would travel. I'd be, what I'm saying. I'm kind of like thinking about like traveling again, man. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm not necessarily thinking about, okay, I need to go downtown, or I need to, go do something and in near where I live or whatever. Like I'm thinking like, damn, man. Should I go back to the DR? Should I go to Colombia? Um, Damn, where do I want to go? Like that's what I kind of be thinking about. Like I don't be thinking about like should I go downtown and nothing like that. But I am probably gonna go downtown, and I got something planned that I'm gonna do. But it's like I'm gonna be basically I'm gonna try to do food deliveries on my bike downtown. I'm gonna try that out. Um, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna do it, but uh, other than that, yeah, I just been thinking about kind of what next travel destination I want to do or go, because Yeah, it's like I don't know, man. It's just kind of like just kind of got the travel bug again. It's been like about what? How long has this been? Almost six. Yeah, about 6 months since I last traveled. I think I want to travel again. I think I want to go somewhere else. I don't think I want to go back to the DR right now, but I think I want to go somewhere, probably like Colombia or maybe Brazil. I'm not sure, but it's just a thought, man. It's not necessarily like I'm gonna do it, but that's kind of what I'll be thinking about when I think about doing something. Think about traveling, maybe even Thailand, maybe Philippines. I don't know, not necessarily the Philippines. I want to say probably maybe Bali or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'll be thinking about, man. Going to use my passport, man. Get a passport stamp or two. You know, made some good Uber money. Yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, I don't do Uber, but yeah. Nah, I haven't. My homie did. My homie knows him. One of my friends, he knows him. He's in the he be in the south suburbs. Jap being he be in the south suburbs. He like my friend, used to, well, I don't think he does it that much anymore because he married, but he used to basically be in a bar. He used to go to bars a lot. So one of the things you probably, if you do watch Minister Jap, Minister Jap is a lush. He liked to drink, so he liked to go to bars and stuff. So my homie, he that's what he liked to do. He's a drinker, so he used to go to a lot of bars and stuff and pick up chicks. I really don't. I don't really go to bars and stuff, so I live around a lot of bars. Like they got a lot of nightclubs and stuff, a lot of bars and Gary and different, Maryville and stuff. I don't go to the bars and shit because it's not. I mean, it's not a good place to pick up women, man. I mean, you can get laid at a bar and stuff. You can get some numbers, but it's universally, man. It's not a good place to pick up women, man. Like it just not. So I just kind of I stay away from those places, man. Because I mean, I don't need to be social or anything like that. So and go to no nightclub or bar. So I just kind of stay away from those places. But um it is some places that I actually wanted to go, but they have different events. Like they have like, because Lake Michigan, they have a lot of cruise ships. Not a lot, but they got like cruise parties. They be having day parties and stuff like that. Those are cool. They be having like rooftop parties downtown Chicago. They got different events and stuff like that. But like I said, I'm in the zone, man, trying to, like, I'm on like a come up, so I ain't really in the mood, man, to be going to parties and stuff, man. I just ain't really feeling it. Um I gotta meet some more goals, man. I think once I get my house done and a couple other things, maybe I might feel like I want to kick it. Like I have times where I feel like I just want to kick it. Like don't get me wrong, like I once I get once I get a kick it vibe or a mood to kick it, I definitely do want to kick it. Like I don't get those all the time, but when it's usually like it's usually like a situation where I'm financially better off and I'm doing good or whatever. I feel like I want to go kick it. I haven't been feeling like that. I definitely haven't. So uh you know I got a lot of things, a lot of work to do. He said you should try South Africa, take a visit. Yeah, South Africa is definitely something I thought about, man. I definitely I definitely thought about it, man. Man, them South African chicks, man. Oh my god. Man, I mean, oh my god, they just oh my god. Don't even remind me. Shoot. Oh my god. Oh man. But South Africa is expensive, like because it's way down in the south of Africa. It's expensive. It costs a little money to go to South Africa. I did a live stream. It was just all impromptu. I went to like I went like online. I think I used Orbits and because that's what I normally use. Like and then I just saw what the prices of certain destinations were, and I didn't put in South Africa, but I did put in I think I put in Ethiopia. I like the destinations that I wanted to go, I put them in the I looked up how much it costs as far as travel, and I did that a few months back. Um just one of those live streams, random live streams that basically I don't know, I ain't get that many views, but it was all random. But it was fun. It was it was definitely fun because a lot of those places I never even looked up as far as the prices, and it was just kind of based off of the nightlife or whatever, or just kind of the street views of what the women look like. Um, it was a couple European countries that I put in there, but yeah, man, I definitely want to travel, man. I don't know, man. It just I've been thinking about going to Canada real quick, man. Just go up to Canada. I might even I was even thinking about just driving up there because I'm about 4 hours away from Canada from like I think what is that? What is that city? It's like close to Michigan. Um I'm not sure. I don't think it's Toronto, but basically I'm not that far from Canada because I mean I'm all the way up in I'm in Indiana. In Michigan, once you go through Michigan, you go right to Canada. I was thinking about even just going to Canada, but from what I'm hearing and kind of what I see, Canada is kind of just it's kind of lame. Like as far as what I can see and what I hear, because I don't really hear nobody talking about Canada. Like you know what I'm saying, I don't hear people raving about Canada. Um, but I was thinking about just for shits and giggles, just kind of going to Canada to see what they talking about. But I don't know. It just kind of seemed like it's just like America, maybe even worse. I don't know. Like it just seemed kind of lame, but I don't know. I don't. I from what I heard from other people, that travel way more than I do, Canada ain't popping like that. But I don't know. You ever been to Canada? Anybody been to Canada? I mean, shoot, let me know because I don't know. Like I never been to Canada so far. I have yet to be gone to Canada, but I was thinking about just going to just see, just to see what's going on. Preferably before the winter. I mean, like I wouldn't want to go to Canada in the wintertime if I could avoid it. I would want to go to Canada right now or basically no later than probably the fall or in the summertime or in the springtime. Basically, I wouldn't want to go in the wintertime though. But they got some nice looking women though in Canada. I shoot, man. I mean, I went on Bumble. I took my Bumble app and I put it on vacation mode or travel mode, and I kind of seen what I think I was looking at Toronto. Um, It's nice. It's some nice chicks, man. Different, even different. Because Canada got a lot of people from different countries too. So they got a mixed variety. They got a lot of Caribbean. They got a lot of people from Africa there. They got Indians, Asians. Uh, it's a kind of a mixed group, but yeah, I ain't really get no hits, so I just I ain't really hit. I ain't really hit. I wasn't hitting on none, so I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe this ain't for me. You know, I think I did that before I went to the DR. Um, they say Toronto has the highest quality of life of any city in the world. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I definitely think Canada is safer. I think Canada is safer than the United States. I don't think like okay, Canada, you go to Canada, like okay, I think like when I say lame, I was like, ain't nothing really happening there. Like I think you'll be safer in Canada than you would be in the United States, like no doubt. But as far as like women and stuff like that, I don't really know. Like it just seems like it's just like the United States, but I don't know. I mean, but as far as like living there, I mean, I would imagine it has to be colder because you're going way up north. You're going close to the fucking North Pole. So I know Canada is definitely colder because the further you go up north, the colder it gets. And you know, houses and stuff. I mean, I'm sure they probably got some nice houses. They're expensive though. Their housing market is like really really expensive. But living there, I mean, I mean, you probably safer there than living in New York or Chicago for sure. Or a lot of different like yeah, you safer probably living in Canada than in the United States. I don't even think I don't know what I think they got stricter gun laws and stuff in Canada. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that it's a pretty good living. Um, you don't have to worry about a lot of stuff like you probably do in America. I mean, Canada's it's got a lot of trees, a lot of wooded area. If you want to be ducked out in the woods, man, it probably Canada's probably don't get no better than that. Shoot, you want to be ducked out. I think shoot one of my like she's not my favorite singer, but I like her. She kind of came on the scene and then left. I think Melanie Fiona. She she from Canada. She was on the scene like in the two early 2010s, and then she just like she just got, just ghosted. She came out with a couple hits, and then she just jumped off the porch or whatever. I do a lot of like I ain't gonna say sightseeing, but I do like a lot of driving. So I'll be like I'll drive somewhere new and then I'll see something. That's my way. That's my way of like, seeing something, man. Doing some damn fucking deliveries and shit, man. That's my way of like getting out and seeing what's out there or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Like most of the time I'm either doing that or I'm trying to fix something around my house, man. I got like a zillion things to do around my house. Usually going to the hardware store, like the most. I think I went like the most I went to the hardware store. I think it was like one day I had went to the hardware store like 5 times in one day. I really been to be honest, I've been thinking about selling this damn house, man, because I just want to just I just at times I just want to just fucking sell this house and just move the fuck on. But I know that's not the best route to go because okay, I sell my house, okay, then what? What the fuck? Go back to living in hotels and shit. talking about talking about living in hotels and shit, you know, then I'll buy another house that obviously is probably going to be a fixer upper. Then I'm back to square one, with another house I got to fix up, and then living in fucking what a hotel or even worse, an apartment. I can't stand apartments. So it's like, man, I mean, on one end, that's just a thought that doesn't really calculate, and it's like, yeah, if I did do that, I'd just be back to square one. I mean, I had some money, but then I'm back to fucking square one, living in hotels and trying to find an apartment and then trying to find another fixer upper to fix up. It's like, damn, I mean, I don't want to do that. Don't make sense. Don't make sense at all. So can't do that. Not just yet. At least I gotta find something else. So when I do if I do sell one house, I got something else as a backup. He said, "What? How were the women in the DR? What city did you go to?" Well, I went to Punta Cana, and the women are in the DR is exceptionally beautiful. I mean, like they okay, one, I mean, I don't know, like they don't look at themselves as black, okay? They look at themselves as Dominican or whatever. But they're fucking black people that speak Spanish to me. That's how I look at them. I mean, there ain't no difference. Like, because I mean, well, nah, it really ain't that much difference other than, I mean, actually, the DR is that's where that was like a slave island, basically. That's where they dropped off the slaves. The Spanish and the French dropped off slaves. It was like a slave outpost. So they speak Spanish. They look black as fuck to me. They look just like they look just like any other black person, other than you could tell. I mean, their features or whatever, a phenotype is slightly different because they have like their hair, I guess, because of the Spanish and the Indian, the Taino Indians or whatever that was on the island before Christopher Columbus and all of them, before the Europeans arrived. Their hair is very fine or curly, so a lot of them don't wear weave. Some of them wear weave, because it's like, they got, there's a lot of culture, a lot of culture from the America in the West. You just say the West. It's because it's not that far away. The DR is like 100 miles from Miami. You got to go to Miami before you go to the DR. So literally, like, that was actually tripped out because I'd never been to Miami. So it was like two trips in a row. Like, I was at Miami for a layover. So I actually got a chance to like see what Miami looks like. It was nighttime, but so I went to Miami for a layover for like it was like a 8 hour, it was like a 12, 11 hour layover. and then we flew to Miami to the DR. But yeah, they have like curly hair or like kind of straight hair, and they just speak Spanish, but they look like black women or whatever, but they just speak Spanish. And really, you really need to learn Spanish in order to really talk to them, because um it's a language barrier. You don't want to have no language barrier. Communication is key, and if you can't communicate, it's really kind of somewhat limited. But yeah, I mean, the women are more natural, because one, they don't have money to really buy all them breasts and stuff. The women that have breast implants and stuff, those are like chicks that they work with pimps and shit. They like working girls. Like, that's a good way to spot a fucking chick that works, the streets and shit, or escort. She got breast implants and stuff. Um, they just pretty much kind of more um down to earth, like, because they gotta survive on this island with all of these people, man, and uh it's mostly it's a lot of parts that's underdeveloped, but they um a lot of people have like motorbikes and shit, these like weird looking motorbikes that you really don't see in America. You see these motorbikes in like probably like Thailand and shit, these little thin little motorbikes. A lot of people have those. A lot of people have cars. A lot of people are actually well to do, because they might travel from America to the DR, and then a lot of money kind of comes back and forth from uh you know the DR, and it's a lot of international traveling. Like, when you think of, like, okay, let's just say the DR, it's not just like, okay, the DR is there, and then they, you know what I'm saying, like, they have an airport, they got boats and shit. Like, they actually, they actually trade currency and stuff from, different import and exports from other Caribbean islands. They trade, they have open trade with the United States, with Mexico, South America. So, and then they speak the language. They speak Spanish. So they, basically have global trade. So their houses is very very nice. They, they have they got very good builders. They have damn near everything you need as far as modern infrastructure, because it's so close to the United States. They also they could trade from, they got open trade with, like, it's not like it's Cuba, so they could trade with European countries. They can get stuff from all over the world, basically. And people come there and they bring their money, so they got money there. They got a lot of tourist money that comes to the DR. Punta Cana is actually a tour. Like, if I would have traveled again, if I would have went back in the time machine, I actually wouldn't have went to Punta Cana, because Punta Cana is actually a resort city. It's for families. That's for, like, you bring your boo or bae to go to a resort and you have a good time and you go to the beach. It's not for no single man that's horny as fuck. Actually, the place to go is Santa Domingo, or if you really want to be a fucking whore, go to Sosua, where all the whores are at, and they just walking around like some beach tent city with whores. Is which what Sosua is. um that's like where you go if you're a single horny guy trying to get laid. Santa Domingo or Sosua, or basically other parts of the Dominican Republic, not Punta Cana. Punta Cana is, like I said, it's like going to Orlando. it's like going to Orlando with your family, like to, you know, go to a resort, you know, have a good time for a week or a weekend. Uh, you know, that's kind of what that's what Punta Cana is. But I mean, you know, it's all relative, man. You kind of I didn't, like I said, I don't really do the bar thing and the club thing, so I ain't go to no bars and no clubs. Um, I just basically I did what you wasn't supposed to do. Like I was basically using Bumble and WhatsApp. Um, you know, it's basically like I say, you kind of like, I ain't gonna say you need to learn Spanish, but it's you have the upper hand if you know Spanish. Just imagine, okay, just imagine like, okay, you don't you come to like, you if imagine you in America and you don't know how to speak English. Okay, it's like, okay, people trying to understand you, it's hard for them to understand you because you don't speak the language. So it's like a lot of times, you know, people don't really understand that. Like when somebody tell you it's best if you know the language. People really slide that under the bus. They don't really take that to heart. Like they just pass over that until you actually travel there. Then you realize, damn, I really do need to speak the language. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, it's some people that are dual language or dual they know they bilingual. Like they do. There's some people that they are there that they know English and Spanish, but most of them don't. They don't know. They know a little bit of English, but they don't know English. Most of them are pretty much mostly like you. Like most people only know English. Like me, I mostly know English. I don't, you know, I know a little bit of Arabic. I know a little bit of Spanish. Very limited French. And that's it. Like I don't really know. Only fluent language that I know is English. So it's like that's just how they are, but it's Spanish for them. So a lot of times I would say hablo no hablo español, which basically means I don't know how to speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Like I've said that quite a few times when I was over there because they look at you, you blend in. You got the complexion for the connection. You know, if you're white, they will automatically know you're a gringo. If you got on sunglasses and you know what I'm saying, you a black dude from Philly or New York, like they don't you look like a Dominican, and they don't know until like they start talking to you. Then you know, basically then they'll know, okay, you from somewhere else, because they expect, okay, you just start speaking Spanish like they speak it, you know, because you look just like them, you know. I know black people have a hard time, you know, with people that are not per se black in America, but I myself, I don't think, I mean, it's like, to me it looks like a duck, quack like a duck. It's probably a duck, but you know, it might not be. But in my case, even when I was there, like I said, I had my sunglasses on. You know, I wore my sunglasses. I wanted to kind of blend in because I knew if I had my sunglasses on, they couldn't tell me from another Dominican to a gringo, you know, other than, okay, people introduced me or whatever. The cab driver introduced me to some people and, you know, they knew. But even one person was like, man, he looked like he's a Dominican, you know, he fits right in. Like, you know, so, you know, it's like, yeah, you gotta kind of, wherever you going, you gotta understand it. You're gonna have a barrier, and the barrier is, do you speak the language or not, you know. And the longer you at a location, if you get like if you get a chick to, like, you know, basically get you a girlfriend and make an agreement, teach me Spanish, you'll probably you'll learn Spanish fast. Or if you really interested, you'll learn it. You know, like the cab driver, he said to learn Spanish, just basically get a notebook and start writing things down. You know, get you a notebook and just try to learn the language. You know, he said the Spanish did right. What you mean by that, man? How much AIDS do they have? How much AIDS do they have? You mean AIDS? Uh, I don't know, man. I wouldn't be trying. I had no um thoughts as far as going in, like going somewhere to a foreign country and going raw. That wasn't that. I mean, I ain't gonna say I didn't think about it, but that wasn't what I was gonna do, man. I think I brought rubbers in my yeah, I definitely brought some rubbers in my packaging, amongst other things. Um he said that happened to me once in NYC when a Dominican walked up to me and spoke Spanish, but the black people in South America and the Caribbean get the same type of bullshit that you guys say. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know I'm very well educated, self-educated, and even formal education. So I know the history of the island of Hispaniola. I mean, that's what it was called before they, split to the DR and Haiti. I mean, basically, that was a slave island for the French and the Spanish, and they brought the same people that I know. You have all of these wackos that's trying to say that black people are not African, they're Indians. Um, the it's I mean, I mean, historically, okay, slavery, the transatlantic slavery did happen. It's very disrespectful. It's kind of like telling a European Jew in America that it was no Holocaust. That's like what you're saying when you say it was no slavery and that black people didn't come from Africa or whatever. It was basically millions of black people that came from, basically slave ships from Africa, and they went all over South America, the Caribbean, and in North America. Okay, so I mean, unfortunately, I have to be the bearer of bad news to tell you that that actually did happen. And one of those islands that they dropped slaves off was Hispaniola, which is the modern Dominican Republic in Haiti, and they know that, they know the history. And they kind of they will they will give you some play based off of the fact that they know that you have very similar DNA, or look the same as they do. You just It's just like I say, it's a language barrier. You don't know Spanish, it's gonna be a language barrier with that. And the translation apps don't really work. Meaning, okay, yeah, you do have this smartphone with a translator app, but here's the problem: you're trying to talk in real time and use a translator app. Very, very difficult to do. Now, there are some there are some translator apps that I've never used and I've heard about, or I was looking at, or there probably is some that will help you with conversations in real time. Because it's like, for example, this is where the translation apps don't work, because you're basically dealing with the human brain. So it's like this: you can talk to the translator, and then they'll translate, the app will translate what you're saying. The problem is, and you can say it just like the translation, just how it is in Spanish. The problem is when they start talking, that's where that's where it gets fucked up. Now, I ain't gonna lie, like there's probably some technology that I don't know about that, that's out there that would help with that, because the problem is when they start talking, that's where it gets a clusterfuck. And you be like, oh fuck. And you might be thinking, damn man, I'm gonna come there and I'm gonna just use my cell phone for translation. Nope. The problem is when they start talking, they I mean, like I said, they probably got some solutions that I don't know about for when they actually start talking back after you use the translation. Like, you know what I'm saying? So um that's where it gets fucking complicated when they're actually trying to talk to you back after you translate, because that's not whatever they're saying, it's not translating to you because you don't speak the language. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I do some retarded shit in my life. I actually took Spanish in college and I didn't take it serious, and it came to bite me in the ass. I didn't think, oh damn, I'm gonna be an old motherfucker one day that want to go to the Dominican Republic, or I'll be sometime in my life I will want to go to a Spanish country and actually, talk to the people there. Like that never dawned on me. I just didn't think of it like that. I was thinking, I could, learn Spanish, just, learn another language and maybe a little bit or whatever. But, I it just the first year of Spanish, or the first semester of Spanish, it was like I did okay. Second year it was like, yeah, different professor. Um, it was just like I kind of got lost in translation and didn't do well. I had to drop the class. Yeah, it was like, yeah. But I mean, I'm still trying. I do actually want to learn Spanish, and I think I will. And I've been using Duolingo, and I think Duolingo is free, but I think it's like limitations with the free version or something. But I've been using that. I haven't been using it in a while. I kind of just kind of stopped doing that. But um, it's in your best interest to learn whatever language wherever you're trying to go. And then when you go to Brazil, that's another clusterfuck, because that's not Spanish, that's Portuguese, which is similar to Spanish, but it's not Spanish, it's actually Portuguese. So they speak a totally different language. So it's best to probably go to places where they speak fucking English. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's places that they speak, it's more English is more common. He says is part true and part lie, which causes confusion, but the origin doesn't matter, because when blacks need it is build their own wealth. Yeah, I mean okay, it was Indians that um were dark in complexion with negroid features. You could even say that were Africans that migrated to the early Americas, that mixed in with the natives in America. Yes, that's true. I know about that history. It was native, like when the Vikings came to the Americas, the early Americas, the Indians that were there. Okay, let's just say um before, let's just say like 900 AD, 800 AD, 600 AD, or whatever. It when the Vikings came to the Americas, when they was traveling from Greenland to America. The Indians that were in America were of Negroid features, dark complexion. Yes, I definitely do agree with that. But what these like what I agree Citizen Lou when he calls them pretendians. What these pretendians are doing is they're lumping a small percentage, let's say 10% to be honest, of actual Africans that were of native in America and blending them in with the millions upon millions of black Africans that were forced onto slave ships and forced into the West, North America, South America, the Caribbean, and lumping them all together, like as if that never happened, like it wasn't millions upon millions of people from Africa that was loaded into boats and dumped off into various parts of North America, South America, and the Caribbean. And that's where history basically doesn't add up, and it's just like a bunch of people that's trying to avoid the negative history of slavery because it's just, I get it, it happened, and it's an inferior history that black people are still fighting to this day because we were the last man, like we were in bondage. We come from people that were definitely did fight but were in bondage, and in many regards are still um dealing with the effects of the bondage of being basically the loser. We're looked at as losers, to be honest, and other people look at us as losers. Like, that's why a lot of times a lot of other people of different cultures, they don't even want to deal with black people because they look at us. I mean, this is the way I look at this is my personal opinion. When they look at somebody like me, they look at a person that possibly is a loser because we did lose a lot of wars. Not over the last 5,000 years, but let's just say the last 1,000 years. The last 1,000 years, if you read The Destruction of the Black Civilization, I think by Sheikh Anthony Diop, or I think that is who wrote that, or Chancellor Williams, I'm not sure. But basically, the reason why there is what was a slavery is because basically Africa lost a lot of wars. They lost a lot of wars to the Arabs, the Persians, and then finally the Europeans. And that's why we looked at as losers. And it's like, the thing is that that's that you're trying to basically avoid that history, and saying that you're an Indian is an effort, in my opinion, of those people trying to avoid to avoid that L, the holding that L or whatever. And it's like, the thing about me is I try to avoid being delusional or even fantastical, to living in fantasy. I accept things for how they are. Do I believe I'm a loser? No. Do I think that a lot of people are doing things or even have viewpoints that are backwards, and put them in a position that they don't compete well? Yes. And put them in a situation where they're actually becoming a perpetual loser in real time? Yes. But the thing is that I like I said, I mean, years ago, decades ago now, I've decided to accept the wins and the losses, of history, and basically just go from there. It's very, very difficult though, because is you don't have that many people to really build with, because a lot of people they have that kind of loser mindset, and it's like it's kind of hard, man, to try to build with people that are basically being perpetual losers. That's why a lot of black people they they want to go actually just separate themselves from black people and just go be with white women or others, and vice versa, both men and black men and women, because that's one of their ways of trying to separate from being a loser, you know and I know it's harsh. I know this is like kind of sour medicine or whatever, or reality, but it is how I look at this. It's my opinion. um a lot of people that know probably would accept my opinion as fact. But the thing is that, yeah, I think that's why you have a lot of these people that are into this pretending thing. And the thing is this also, not to mention, you have black people that integrated with the actual American Indian tribes. Okay, a lot of black people actually did. Like even my mother's ancestry, they have Indian tribal lineage. So that's because the Indians had slaves. They traded for slaves for guns and crops and whatever else they had, sheepskin, lambskin, or wolf skin, whatever, buffalo skin. They traded whatever they had to get slaves. And they did a little bit different from the Europeans as far as what they did with the slaves versus what the Europeans did with their slaves. I mean, naturally, they didn't do anything different as far as they bred with those slaves, just like the European bred with the slave women and made children. And those children were black and Indian. But that doesn't negate that these Africans, how they got over here was from slave ships, from this transatlantic slave trade. It doesn't necessarily, mean that because I have Native American ancestry and also even European ancestry, that the African ancestry is like canceled out like mathematics. No, that's not how that works. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. I don't live in delusion or fantasy. I try not to. Do I dream? Yes. I think dreams are powerful. But I don't live in some type of fantastical delusionary tale. Things are how they are. They were like that before I was born. You know, is it a tough time to be born? I mean, I don't know. I mean, shoot. Be honest, it's different than it was in the 19 fucking 30s and 50s when your ass could legally be fucking rounded up and lynched. I mean, you do have black people do have more power than they had. I would say probably in the 1930s and 50s and shit. You know, black people actually just kind of don't. I think just it's just a little bit more tougher than those black people did. It was more power in numbers and stuff. Shit. It's like I'm not much as a pushover as my dad is or my grandfather was. I don't have the same fear or like my grandfather or my father probably had, or my grandparents. These young people now, they have even less fear. And it's not a lot of them old wicked people that did a lot of wicked, they dead and gone. They're dead as doorknobs. They're in the graves being worm. They already been worm food at this point. I mean, so it's just, times is a little different, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not like 19 fucking 50s and 60s and shit, man. I will say that it's not like that, but then also things are not necessarily positive in the sense where post obviously 1960s and 50s and stuff, black families were primarily together. They are not together now. They're all over the place, and more single parents and shit, single mothers and stuff like that. So that's not a positive. That's more of a that's a historical negative. But I digress. Um, the whole thing is let's see here. Let's see what you're saying. I mean, I don't know how old you are or whatever, but it comes with time. I mean, it comes with time, I would say. But there are people like Thomas Sotomayor who embarrass and who re-embarrass blacks. Okay. Yeah. It's like cooning is a path to make money. I've Most coons that I noticed they make money. A lot of coons are millionaires. Both of those people either have been millionaires, or even still are millionaire. I think Candace Owens is a millionaire. Tommy probably was a billionaire. I don't know if he still is, but they made a lot of money doing that. Okay. A lot of coons do. That's how they make. That's how they make money. Even on YouTube, you go be. If you was to be a coon, you appeal to a wider audience being a coon. That's that's been going on for a long time. It's gonna always be like that, probably. I don't know. I mean, that's why they do that. What's going on, my man, Mr. New York himself? Um, it's cooning, man. That's how you make some bread, man. I mean, in a lot of regards, I'm gonna be honest with you. Let's talk about cooning, right? And I've said this before. If you worked in corporate America, in a way, corporate America kind of teaches you how to be a slick coon. Well, you don't want to really, nobody really want to talk about this shit. But a lot of black people that work in corporate America, it's kind of like coon training in a way. If you really go in depth with it, meaning you really trying to play that corporate game, you really on some coon shit, because corporate America is primarily white dominated. Okay. So what you'll see when if you work in corporate America, you already know what the fuck I'm talking about. You're surrounded by black people, other white people, they playing the game, and Asians. Every non-black person is pretty much trying to play the game, and they're trying to please basically their white bosses. So what is that? You know, if you really care and concern yourself, and you try and keep your job, you trying to please your white bosses. So in essence, you're trying to be, the supreme king coon to keep your job. Um, Even if you got, whatever in a business world, it kind of like you trying to please your investors, or basically, who's your investors most likely? Probably most likely some white people. So I mean, it's kind of I don't know, man. It kind of goes that way, man. If I told you anything different, I'll be lying to you, or I won't be talking about it at all, or which is kind of somewhat lying by omission. A lot of YouTubers do that. They don't talk about certain things because they don't want to mention it for whatever reason. But actually speaking out and stuff like that, you know. And then you got some black people that think everybody is a coon. I mean, technically they would even say I'm a coon because you got black people that they don't want you to point out the negatives about black um you know the negative dirty laundry of the black community, such as the ghetto ness, the violence, the self-hatred towards each other, you know, the abortions, the high rates of abortions, you know, which is also self-hatred. It's you know, all you know, they don't want you to talk about that. The single parent, a lot of the single motherhood shit is just a lot of black women that don't want to listen to black men. In a lot of regards, the reason why they single is just they don't want to fall in love with black men, and a lot of them hate black men. You see that. So um there's the self-hatred again, you know. The self-hatred leads to abortions. And this is from a I would consider myself a young elder at my age. The self-hatred is murders, abortions, all this independent shit. You know, I'm an independent this, and I'm a boss this, and you know, I could raise children all by myself. You know, I don't want to listen to no my man or no man. Self hatred. Okay, because these same women, they'll go to that same, you know, corporate or the same job that's primarily white owned, and they will listen to them like a dutiful slave with no problems in no regard, right? But they can't listen to the father that knocked them up and made all of these children with them with the same respect and regard. So self-hatred. Slavery wasn't that long ago. Okay, my great grandmother or grandfather probably was, you know, during slave time. So that's only, you know, 150 years ago. That's only, it's like two lifetimes. If you live 75 years old, two 75-year-olds back to back during the time of slavery. So you got a lot of people that still have this slavery mindset. They still have that plantation. They still have that plantation mindset. See, a lot of black men in the black manosphere, they rave about Shahrazad Ali and her books and stuff when she's talking about relationships. She, you know, wrote the Guide to Understanding the Black Man, the Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. They rave about those two books. People can't stop talking about that, right? And I talk about that too, but they don't talk about the books that she wrote before that, about pork and about Are You Still a Slave? She actually has a book that is actually kind of it's like a study guide, and it's basically outlines key points of to question yourself and other people: Are you still a slave? Because a lot of people, that's how they act. The plantation was of, you know, the reason I think that's the reason why Django was really popular, because that guy that played the, you know, Candyland, you know, Samuel Jackson, um that character and the other characters, that's how that mindset is still going on to this day, that, you know, the white man is so up there, you know, Supreme King Coon, and you know, niggas ain't shit, you know. I mean, that mindset is still in existence in 2024. You know, it is going to be here for a long time, because it's almost like, you know, like I said, it just goes from one generation to the next, and a lot of people still have that. See, a lot of people are not. So, a lot of people are quote unquote blue pill. They have not been enlightened to the reality, and they just still, you know, just kind of stuck being on a blue pill level, or a non-conscious level, to where they haven't did the work to look at themselves in the mirror and look at history and as it was and how it relates to today, and go through the metamorphosis of, damn, okay, this did happen, and it's people and it didn't happen that long ago, and it was, it was periods where it wasn't like slavery happened and then it was like fucking Disneyland. That's not how that worked. It was slavery, and then it was Reconstruction, and it was segregation, Jim Crow, civil rights movement, all of those periods of time, and even still, it's still rough. It's like, these waves that, was really, really rough, and it came crashing down. And, black people from that time onward, they still had those mindsets. That level of self-hatred still existed, and it still exists today. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody has a certain level of self-hatred. White people kill and destroy each other every single day. Do all kinds of evil things to each other every single day. Everybody does that. But to a certain level, when you look at black people as a whole, if you look at them through a magnifying glass, that self-hatred kind of goes a lot more in depth, in a sense where a lot of times, okay, you walk through a certain neighborhood and you see a group of black men, you walk across the street, and that has something to do with not just black men. It has something to do with the fact that you're in a particular community that is a lower socioeconomic environment, and people prey on other people, and they prey on the people that live there, and those people mostly are other black people. But yeah, it's a certain level of self-hatred that it goes a little bit more in depth than other races. Like, white people actually give themselves up of privilege. Black people don't really give each other privilege like that. I mean, if you really look at it, very few of us give each other some privilege. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, if you just look at it from that perspective onward, um, and you could say we don't really have any privileges to give. I'll give you that, okay, because we don't have loan companies to really give out like that. Don't have any jobs to give out like that. Don't have resources to give out like that. So I give. We don't really have that many powers and positions, even though we have more powers and positions now. But yeah, it's not really that much privilege to give. I give you that, but even if we did have the privileges, a lot of times we don't even give each other any privilege. So it's just a lot of self-hatred, and it definitely based off of that the plantation living and lifestyle. Because slavery happened for quite a few centuries. So even though, okay, it was only 150 years ago, slavery happened actually for centuries, before it was, kind of broken up or whatever. And then you still don't, it really didn't stop, you're dealing with some very, very intellectual people, man. They didn't just stop slavery like that, man. They put people in prison. They just, okay, when the slavery was over, they just started, instead of putting people, in plantations, they just started putting black people in prisons. So it really didn't really technically, to be honest with you, stop. I don't want to scare your ass. I don't want you to, you could, and don't pick up the gun and pull the trigger yet. But it really gets really, really dark when you start to really look at it. But that's why I play chess. You know what I'm saying? That's that's why I play chess, bro. Say a lot of these black women haters are coons too, bro. Yeah, yeah, because I mean it kind of goes there, man. You know the the whole the whole I'd rather just be with a white chick, or I'll be with a white dude. And I'm not saying all the people that do that they have a hatred for their other their women of their same culture. But you do see a lot of people that they do have a level of self-hatred towards the women or men of their same culture. So you do see a lot of that. And then, like I said, it goes from, basically women looking at it like they want to be with a winner. And the thing is that women, I think to a certain level, women are hypergamous in a sense where when you look at those that, let's say, they during war, when the loser when the victor prevails or whatever, the women typically go with the victor. That's typically how that goes. So I mean, I don't blame them. But the thing is where it gets rough, where it's going to get rough is that quote unquote victor, you know, um the victor, let's just say this. I'll just say it like this. The victor eventually becomes the loser. Throughout history, that always goes to a fact. At one time, black people were, building pyramids, pharaohs and rulers and kings. It's still kings in Africa and queens in Africa and all of that. But I mean, that's where everybody in the world was. That's where they learned to be. The monarchy system was learned in Africa. Okay, that's where people throughout the world learn how to be monarchs from the Africans. But um, the thing is that black people were victorious for thousands of years, and other people came. The latest is the Europeans. The Europeans were victors. They will become losers. It's just a matter of time. So once where someone was a victor, they will be eventually a loser. That's just how that goes. It's a progression of time. So what you seeing now is that progression becoming slowly into fruition. So it is what it is. It's just it's time and change. That's it. So I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, the thing is that just like the Japanese, they commit seppuku when they in a losing state, and they not winning, or they you know basically they see their fate, and their fate is not um victorious. They take their sword out, and then they basically commit seppuku, which is they stab themselves with their sword in their stomach or on their wherever different parts of their body, and they basically commit suicide. And that's what I'm starting to I'm seeing that a lot of times with a lot of white men in America. They kind of committing seppuku because the world is becoming very competitive financially, in a lot of different regards, and it's just becoming very, very tough. And it's like, just imagine you're taught that you were the best at birth, and then life deals you a bad fate, and then what do? Not every, I guess, it just gets really, really tough when you told you the best, and you told all of these bag of lies, and then you get all of this debt. Then you lose your job, the plant closes, factory closes, you get laid off. Then you looking at your family, and you got this life insurance policy, and you're like, you want to have this life, but you don't think you're gonna really be able to maintain it. And your life is just crumbling before your eyes, and pretty much your wife is gonna suffer, and your family is gonna suffer. And it's like, you just like, man, I'll just let them, just basically consume me with, my life insurance policy. And it's next thing you know, you fall off a cliff. I mean, I don't know, but it's getting rough, man. I mean, it just seemed like it's just getting rougher and rougher, man. I don't know, but I'm trying. I mean, I'm holding on, man. It's but it's, you gotta understand, man. It's like it's not just getting tougher for just, it seemed like it's getting tougher for everybody, man. It just really, really getting tough, with it's just like a lot of these companies, a lot of these elites are consolidating. You see that with BlackRock. They're consolidating everything. It's like they're forming these super clusters of these elite corporate bodies, and they're just sucking up everything. And it's like, the average man is just fighting over crumbs, and trying to really, really work hard for some crumbs. And you just like trying to compete, because you see, America, like I said, I keep saying this over and over again. America is not this equitable country like they present themselves to be. We'll take your huddle masses and your this and that, and brave, the home of the brave, the home of the free. Man, at the end of the day, man, statistically, America is not the most equitable country in the world as far as wealth distribution. Wealth distribution in this country is not what people think it is on the movies and in the TV shows. It is very, very consolidated, and it's a lot of red tape in order to actually have some type of upward wealth mobility in this country. And what you're starting to see, and people starting to wake up, is that it doesn't even matter if you're white in this country. It's like, you got a lot of white people that are struggling, just as much as anybody else. And um, they blaming a lot of other people. They blaming the Jews, and I don't see why they would. I don't. They better not be blaming black people, because black people ain't got shit to do with them struggling. I mean, there are a lot of them that just say they blame the Jews, but um, then they talking about the immigrants and stuff like that. I get the immigrants, because they bringing the immigrants over to basically, kind of, they're competing for jobs. Usually, they're competing for um kind of labor jobs or low skill jobs, and that definitely does make an impact. I get that, but they blame everybody besides themselves, at the end of the day. um because it's like it's just not, the dream that they thought that there was going to be. And they come to find out it's a nightmare. And then, I don't know. They join these little groups and stuff like that. And I don't know. Yeah, I haven't joined any group. I'm just basically, man, just like I'm like the dude off of I'm like the dude off of what's that movie? Lord of the Rings and shit, man. I'm just trying the best I can, man, by my goddamn self. You know, where's my little fucking where's my little sword, man? Where is he at? There's a sword, man. At I'll delete that shit. Yeah, I think I deleted that shit. But yeah, man, it's hey, it is what it is, man. Shit, it's been rough my whole life, so I'm used to it. And a lot of black people are used to the stoic life. I mean, a lot of black people were forced to be stoics, you know, because life just been rough for a lot of people I know. Shoot, their childhood was rough, because their parents didn't really have that much. Their parents just really didn't have that much to offer, and it might even been, their parents might have been strung out on drugs, or very, very extremely poor, might be in jail or prison. And it's like they struggle. Like my childhood, I never went without food. I never, like, if I didn't eat, it was because I ain't like what was in the refrigerator. It wasn't because I wasn't I missed a meal or something like that. I mean, I ain't really never went without clothes or shoes or anything like that. I mean, I might have not like lived in no I ain't lived like Richie Rich or live in no mansion or nothing like that. Um, but yeah, I ain't had those problems. My mother worked as a school teacher, a special education teacher. My father drove a cab. Um, he didn't really, I ain't gonna lie, my father didn't necessarily contribute. He didn't even contribute like 50-50. Like, I mean, he just, whenever my mother needed some money, she would ask my father. And a lot of times he would put up a fit. um but that was, I ain't really had a problem like that, as far as um seeing my parents per se, like, in poverty or anything like that. I pretty much, compared to others, I had it pretty good. I ain't gonna say we was rich. It was times that the phone was off. It was times that the fucking electricity was off. I don't remember. I don't think it was the gas ain't never been off. I don't, not that I can recall. But I remember times it was, them candles came out. Yeah, them candles came out. Candles had to be put out before, until the electricity bill got paid. You said it's always weird when white people blame black Americans when they have what, about 6% of the power and money. Yeah, I don't get the black people thing either, because black people don't really have that much wealth compared to white people. White people have combined wealth, like, really, when you combine it all, they have like over 100 trillion as far as wealth. Black people have like a hot dollar. They have like 1 trillion. Maybe I'll give black people $2 trillion. So you complaining with somebody with it's like you shooting dice. You got $100, and we when we used to shoot dice, like when I used to grow up, when I was growing up, actually in Dalton, where your city girl mayor is. um we used to shoot dice, and it was a rule that you couldn't even shoot dice if you came with a hot, we call it a hot dollar. You had like a minimum or whatever, and you couldn't cut, because they ain't want nobody coming in with some hot, with a couple hot rolls or whatever, and then come up, because that could happen, but it's like, what black people got, like a hot dollar coming into a dice game with somebody with over $100. It's like you ain't gonna complain. How you gonna complain with somebody coming with a hot dollar to the dice game? Like, birds ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Usually you come in with that hot dollar, you gonna lose it. You know what I'm saying? So um and black people don't even have that trillion. The people that have that trillion is the Oprahs, the LeBrons, the Jay-Z's, and all that. Like the P. Diddy's, they got that. But most average black person is middle class at best. So yeah, I don't really get that. Most of the time when I hear when I do, and I don't be listening to racists and shit. Sometimes I do. Sometimes they be fucking very entertaining. Like Nick Fuentes, he's very entertaining. And I'll even say it very insightful because he be going in primarily when I listen to Nick Fuentes' little clips and shit on Twitter. He be going in on Jews and shit, you know. But when I hear them talking about last time I was listening a long time ago, it was years ago. I was listening to the White Citizens Council. It was like online. I think it was like some website or some shit. I was listening to some like clips they had. What they was talking about with black people, they was talking about the Jews, but then when they started talking about black people, they was saying that black people don't stay in their place no more. That's what they were saying. I kid you not, it was like, it was the time that black people knew if they were the butler, they were just gonna be the butler, and then there was their ambitions, and then they knew where their place was. Now black people, nobody wants to be the butler, and they all think that they're, better than, whatever, and they, out of their place. And it's like, okay, man, the fuck out of here. Um, the thing is that I don't know, man. I don't really listen. I don't be listening to racists like that, like open racists. I mean, sometimes I do, cause sometimes it be kind of funny, man. I ain't gonna lie. Like some of that shit be funny when you start going down them little rabbit holes and shit. That should be kind of funny, man. You know, um, I don't know, man. I find I have a morbid sense of humor. Sometimes. I mean, by the time, I mean, like, to be honest, the whole idea of quote unquote races and colors is kind of goofy when you really think about it. And I started thinking about it really in my 30s. I started thinking about really, really thinking of breaking down the idea of white, black, Asian. I mean, of course, you understand the root of all of the human race goes back to basically African, quote unquote, Lucy, and Eastern Africa, or the Mesopotamia. So all ancestry comes from black man and woman. But when you really just even think about, like, okay, the idea, this is just what I think, like, just how I look at it. I know I'm not the only one that looks at it this way. It gets kind of goofy when you think about it. Like, okay, so when it comes to, like, okay, if a white woman has a baby with a black man, right? How is that child a black boy or girl? How can a white woman make a black baby? How is that possible? Okay. I mean, I always ask that question, and I haven't gotten a straight answer. How is that possible without her herself being actually black, or having some type of black DNA to make that black baby? I mean, how okay, Barack Obama's mama, how did she create a black guy and she's white? How is that possible without her herself being black? And that was the day that I, basically when I started really thinking about it like that, I was like, is this really this whole race thing is really goofy. It's goofy at best. At most, it's weird. Um, and it's like, yeah, I mean, just the idea. Basically, what I'm saying is like, basically, we're all human because we can all have babies with each other, healthy, strong babies with each other. And Dave, now you have different ethnicities, phenotypes, genotypes. I mean, I do understand that, okay? Um, but at the end of the day, like it's like a dog. Okay, a wolf around a German Shepherd, they gonna mate and have babies, and they're gonna be a hybrid dog, a hybrid wolf dog, or whatever. But it's still gonna be a healthy dog. Okay, it's like, yeah, okay, I get the whole different phenotypes, and a wolf is really, a lot of people don't understand. A wolf is really large, larger than a dog. Like an average, okay, like if you put a husky next to a wolf, like a wolf is like way bigger than a husky. Um, primarily probably because huskies eat like, I mean, like no, wolves eat large moose, and I mean they have like a really rich diet of large prey like wool uh they eat bison, they eat moose, deer, anything, bear, they probably eat on bear carcasses. So they're huge, okay, as far as like size, compared to a husky. That is kind of like a husky is like a wolf hybrid. That's where you get the husky from, right? So, but it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just, I just look at it, it's like, okay, yeah, I know we got these cultures and ethnicities and all this shit, but at the end of the day, man, it's fucking, it's human. It's like, okay, this person is a human, you can mate with a human. Okay, and then even the whole like, you know, where do you think white people came from? White people came from albinism. Okay, albinos. The whole, okay, white people will be, eliminated or some shit. No, because it's always going to be albinos. Albinism is always some type of mutation or whatever. So that's where they derive from. In my opinion, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an anthropologist or anything like that. Far as what I know, I think as far as albinism, that's where they came from. I mean, I don't know. Like that's where, I mean, it's a country called Albania. I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of maybe I may be true on that. I don't know. Maybe the comment section might correct me. I don't know. But yeah, it's I just don't really look at it the way other people look at it. It's not that important as it used to be. And I think that's healthy. I think that's very healthy for not only myself and other people. Like when you get past that whole race shit, like um just you got more important things you could focus on. Say America has infinite goofiness. That's probably a secret of its success. Uh, infinite goofiness. The secret to his success. I don't know, mate. You might be on to something with that. You might be on to something. I don't know. But the thing is, like, when I think of, when I was reading that out, what you said, seeking my career, I was thinking about the UK, because the UK, they not as far as I know, like as far as racism or whatever. I mean, that point is kind of like almost you want to say kind of hard to that this the statement I'm going to make is probably hard to support with the actual current events that's going on right now in the UK. But as far as how I looked at it, as far as the UK itself, um, they don't seem as racist as they are in the United States. Like from what I hear from people that live in the UK or from the UK, they say basically mostly everybody just mixes with each other. Like they don't really be hung up on that race shit like that. Everybody just like is like fucking with each other. Like I mean, like they don't look at it like that. Like they kind of more classes. In America, that's what I'm seeing kind of going on. Like as far as what I'm seeing in America, it's moving toward a classist model. If you got the money to live in this, like I said, I talked about early to these cul-de-sac communities. If you got the money to live there, people that probably like if you're black and you lived in this well-to-do cul-de-sac community out in the middle of nowhere in America, you know, you might not be accepted like you want to be, but you can't. They won't. They won't be like putting a cross in front of your house, and what I'm saying, they'll pretty much leave you alone. They'll probably be watching you. Probably get some strange looks. You might have some people that probably ruffle your feathers or whatever, try to ruffle your feathers. But basically, your kids will go to this neighborhood school. They get on the bus. They probably have to deal with some, same shit. But I went to school with black people, and I was on the bus, and I still had to deal with niggers on the fucking bus. You know, and I had to fight niggas on the bus. So it's like, I mean, you probably have to, you still gonna have to deal with the same element, but it might seem racist because those same people will be white. But like I say, I've been on the bus with black people, and I didn't have a harmonious experience every time I was on the bus with black people going to school or even going. I was playing basketball, trying to play basketball. Um, it wasn't harmonious. The shooting the dozens got a little intense. Um, it's like, yeah, I mean, you got money to fit in that community or whatever, you in there, and you might not be fully accepted like you want to be, but they won't necessarily force you out. You're gonna fit in some kind of way, and that's what people are doing. It's you got the money to move in a particular area, you're gonna be there. You're gonna find some way to kind of mix in or fit in or the best way you can or whatever, or keep to yourself or whatever. I mean, but you're gonna be there. And it's like that's kind of what I see America trying to pivot to, or making an attempt to pivot to. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because classism is tough too. And that's actually what white people actually face as well, because uh poor whites, quote unquote, they call them trailer trash. The white people that have money, or the elite white people, they shit on white people that are trailer trash. They make fun of them. They talk about how they smell, or you know where they live. And if I listen to some people on YouTube even that talks about their experience living around you know white people that are probably more well to do than they are, and they absolutely treated them like shit. So um that's kind of, classism is tough as well. It's probably just as tough as racism. I mean, probably even worse. I don't know. Uh, but yeah, that's where this country is. I kind of see where it's kind of going, or trying to pivot towards classism, because you kind of see that, because I don't know, to a certain extent. No, I mean, because like basically, yeah, because you got the Democratic Party, right? The Democratic Convention in Chicago. Like, the Democratic Party is a party that's known for what? It's really a party for, what did they say? The Democratic Party is a party of the poor people. The Republicans are, quote unquote, the party of the, quote unquote, rich people, pro business, pro family, uh pro wealth, pro lowering taxes on wealth, right? So it's a classist system. It's trying to basically kind of spring forth and trying to basically stop being racist, but racism element is still there. But I can definitely see where this thing is kind of going towards into classism. Even what black people, what we talk about on YouTube, Pookie and Ray Ray. Where's Pookie and Ray Ray from? From the hood, from the slums. We don't like Pookie. Pookie keep taking all of the bitches. Pookie got all the hoes. Like Pookie living a life in a mansion, in a yacht, in the hood, fucking all the bitches. Pookie fucking hood rats. He might fuck a little bit of the bitches that are not quote unquote hood rats. That's from the suburbs. That's trying to have some hood dick. But she, he's Pookie ain't really never really too much been a concern for me, because Pookie fucking hood rats. The dudes that be hood and thug. I know the chicks that they talking about. I know the chicks that they deal with. They dealing with hood rats, okay, in the hood, up to no good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, that's why I don't say nothing about that. That's why you don't be hearing me. I don't be doing too many streams talking about Pookie and Ray Ray, because I know Pookie fucking on Keisha in the hood. Hood ratting it up. I see it every day. I'm surrounded by it. So it's like, okay, it's not something that I'm complaining about. I'm not. I mean, I done fucked on some hood rats in my life, but I don't be trying to date hood rats. You know, I try to. I really, and to be honest, what I'm trying to tell you, I'm classist. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm classist. That's literally. I mean, I hate to point that out, but yeah, I'm classist in that sense, where I'm not trying to really mess with hood rats. I'd rather abstain from sex than really. I mean, well, if I can get one, if I can find one that ain't too problematic, I mean, maybe I might. But to be honest, I was about to deal with it. I was about to deal with a hood rat like not too long ago. So I'm actually lying, but I just caught myself. But the thing is, my my most sought after pick of a woman is not quote unquote a hood rat. I'll just say that. Now, hood rat that'll listen, it might be some hope, because a hood rat that'll listen, you might be able to kind of like mold her into somebody. Maybe she'll still have hood rat tendencies, but she might be able to learn some things. But that's I don't know. It's kind of rare. I don't know if that actually how that would work. But thing is that, yeah, I mean, that's why I don't really get into all of that. But I mean, that is classism. To talking about, you know, saying, like, I think Sergeant Willie Pete, he hates Pookie and Ray Ray. He hates thugs. He hates thugs with a passion. But Sergeant Willie Pete grew up in a He say he kind of grew up in like a well-to-do suburbs or something like that. I don't know. I don't know exactly. I mean, speaking of him, I was really listening, liking his videos. For some reason or not, he delisted all his videos. And he don't, I mean, he hasn't even came up with a new video yet. So I don't know what the fuck is going on with him. I mean, but I don't know, man. I think, I don't know. I mean, he's a male. I think he's in his 30s, or I don't know if he's in his late 30s or early 40s or something like that. But he one of them dudes that been around for a long time and still ain't got no bitch, ain't still ain't got no kids, still ain't married, ain't even tried to marry. I guess he's like, you got some of these guys that I get it. You're scared. You seen other people get ran through the frame. You listen to the horror stories, and it's like you don't even want to try because you just in order to avoid things, you just don't try. I get it, because if you try, that means that you possibly have some situations that you would have to avoid. So in order to not have to avoid something that's negative, you just avoid it. You just don't deal with it at all. You just don't deal at all. And a lot of people, I get it. I understand that. I totally understand, but it's like, okay, I be in the back of my mind, I'd be like, man, fuck that shit, man. You just gotta. I mean, I ain't trying to say you gotta alpha your way through it or fuck your way through it, but goddamn it, I'm damn near trying to say that. It's like, man, evolutionarily speaking, if you don't have no kids, man, you die. That's it. You got no markers. You ain't got no kids walking around looking like you, carrying on your lineage. You just evaporate, and that's it. You just gone. You just be the uncle, and then you be the dead uncle with no kids. You know, I mean, try something. I mean, shit, I don't know. Go to another country and get your shit off. You want you? I mean, I'm hearing these stories about Brazil, and they talk about child support. And all. I mean, I don't think they're gonna pursue your ass that much like in America. It ain't gonna be like American child support system. You know what I'm saying? They money is like what, 25, shit, 75 to 1 or something like that to $1. It's like, I mean, shit, goddamn me. I don't know, man. You got to get your shit off, man. I don't know, man. After I got 30, I was like, man, I got to get my shit off, man. I ain't trying to be no old motherfucker walking around with Steve Harvey suits chasing after kids, man. I got to get my shit off, man. I just, I will say I just wish I knew what I knew now back then. I wasn't really worried about it too much because I mean, I don't know. I could have got my shit off a lot better, let's just say. But I don't know, man. I was like my 30s, man. I was like, man, I gotta get this shit off, man. You know, I gotta get it off, man. I don't know, man. That's just me though. And I ain't trying to, say whatever somebody else trying to do, but I mean, I just felt like I got to get my shit off. But my uncle, man, I got another uncle, my uncle that's in IT, man. Him and his wife went 10 years without having kids. So I mean, I don't know. They was married for 10 years, 10 whole years, or longer or shorter than that, or I don't know. I think about a good 10 years before they had kids. So I don't know how they was able to do that or what was the method behind that, but they was able to do that. But then it's like as soon as my aunt had some kids, it was like they was like, oh, okay. It's like they got inspired and they just started having kids like around the same time. It was like, oh, okay. But I was late though to the party too, because shit, my sisters, they started having kids. Wait, my Yeah, my sister started having kids in they 20s. My younger sister was late to the party, but my older sister, she started having kids at 18. Um, but I ain't start having kids, so I was like 35. So I was really late to the party. I start actually I ain't start having kids to like my younger cousins that I'm much older than. We got kids around the same age because I started so late. You know, I started my late 30s, so you know, shit, I got kids that I mean, technically I should have kids older than that, but I had to learn, man. You can't deal with sluts, man. You gotta. I mean, well, yeah. It took me a while to learn that, but sluts, man. They already know they sluts, and sluts don't make good parents. I just, I had to learn the hard way. But yeah, man. I mean, America is, like I said, it's turning into a classist type of system. Like in Europe. Joke the manosphere say Pookie and Ray Ray don't exist. I never heard that one. I hear Pookie and Ray Ray every week, every day, damn near. I hear that. I hear the word Pookie and Ray Ray every day. Some guys think Pookie and Ray Ray are just like I said, Sergeant Willie P. He despises them. Like he thinks they're the plague. I don't really look at it like that. Like I mean, if you in the hood, yeah, you that's who you're gonna be around. Like yes, that's the prototype or whatever. They might be, you got some Pookie and Ray Rays outside the hood, but they kind of stick out a little bit depending on where you are. But I mean, they're it's like not like they taking all the bitches. Like I don't see that. I to me, like when I think about who's my competition as far as dating women, the women that I want, it's not Pookie and Ray Ray that I'm concerning myself over competitively. It's Brad and probably Chad that is probably more competitive as far as I'm competing with, because typically the women that I see that I be like kind of looking at as far as things, it's like probably 89s or higher, 89 octanes, 92s and aboves. And a lot of those women, they probably are open to dating white dudes because they know they're on a certain higher level. And some of them do actually do date white dudes or even have married white guys or whatever. And that's probably more or less my competition than per se some hood dudes in the hood. Cause you gotta understand, like, it's not like all women are, I'm not saying that women don't like bad boys or thugs or hood dudes or whatever. I mean, but when it comes down to understanding who's going to be a competitive father and provide you some type of lifestyle that you want to live, meaning, like an 89 type woman or a 92, they want a middle class lifestyle, quote unquote, which I don't even agree with the whole middle class lifestyle. That's not really reality. Middle class to me is totally different than what most people do. My new idea of middle class is like $500,000 or higher. But I digress. They want what commonly people understand as a middle class lifestyle, suburban house, 2-car garage, you know, that type of situation. 92 type woman wants a kind of more upgraded upper middle class type of lifestyle, bigger house, same type of thing. And in order to compete to that level, you have to have some type of consistent sound income, legal income, because if you go to jail, everything just it gets everything kind of gets messed up and blown out of proportion, because you're doing shit illegally and all that type of stuff. I mean, so I mean, obviously, in order to maintain that type of lifestyle, it comes from some type of consistent, legal, sound income that of obviously the 92 chicks you making over six figures. That's very a small percentage of men in the African American community that make six figures. Okay, we're not going to even go there. That's like I said, that's 1% of black men that make six figures. Um, so very very small percentage. When you talking about like a 89 type chick, that's at least over 50,000, maybe 50, 75,000 a year. And it's like, okay, it's not that much, but still, percentage wise, it's not even. Average man makes fit $40,000 a year. When you talk about a black man, it's less than that. It's like in the 30s. So making over 50,000, give or take, depending on where you are, it's like it's a challenge to a lot of people. So um a lot of times, man, guys from the hood have a hard time doing that. Okay, I mean, let's just be honest. Like to have a consistent income like that, a lot of times the guys from the hood have to be truck drivers or working in trades or something like that. And a lot of times, to be honest, a lot of black women that are professional, quote unquote, women, 89s and 92s, they don't really like the idea of dating tradesmen and truck drivers. So a lot of times those guys have to get women that are kind of like 87 octanes, just kind of average general type women, that just average women, or even quote unquote get to, hood rats, get the ratchets, the 85s or whatever, because a lot of well-to-do educated black women have a bad idea of trade. I don't know where they get this from, but they have a bad idea of tradesmen and truck drivers. So they typically want somebody that's educated, that's an office worker like they are, or some type of professional, finance finance guy, whatever, or something like that. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's that's typically kind of how that works. But like I said, I mean, it's I don't look at it like that. I think some guys want, I guess they want to date hood rats, so they want to get hood rats, and they see quote unquote Pookies and Ray Rays with hood rats. So I mean, I guess that's who they want to date. So they get turned off or whatever, or they get pissed off when they see quote unquote Pookie with these chicks. And I don't know. I guess that's what that's about. The whole beef or whatever. Because like I said, I don't have that notion. The women I typically date are highly educated. Uh, like I said, they probably trying to live around white people, and they probably even trying to date white dudes. Okay, so that's typically what I see. But like I said, I mean, this whole classes thing, I don't know if it's better than racism. I think it might be just as harmful as quote unquote racism. Uh, People just putting people in a box and just trying to keep them there. I don't know. I don't think I like that idea. Just like I guess racism tries to put people in a box, putting people in a box, quote unquote, based off of where they live and you know how they talk or where they went to school or where they didn't go to school. I don't know if that's a good idea to practice, but I guess we'll see. But I think the UK and other parts of Europe are way more advanced with their quote unquote class system because they tend to, kind of like have this whole like interracial relationship thing better than people in America do. You still have this interracial thing in America kind of like new. You know, people are not that um accepting of interracial relationships in America. This is something new that they're trying to get used to. Because the thing is that it's a like I said, it's a power shift. Okay, 1950s, 1960s, white women couldn't really date black men interracially. Okay, I don't know about others. I don't know about Indians or Asians or whatever. I just say, as far as I know, black men, it was quote unquote hands off. The whole, Chicago, Emmett Till whistling at a white woman, that whole thing. I think that was in the 1960s or 1950s. I don't know. But the thing is this, okay? That was because you had a lot of people that was extremely racist and they were able to really be bullies. They had the ability or power to be bullies. Well, 19 whatever 1990s 19 or 2000s, um it's not like that. It's just not the same. I mean, I think that I think that's where the whole school shootings or the whole shootings and shooting up the supermarket and we're trying, these shootings, right? These young guns or whatever, that these white racist dudes that have these manifestos, and you find out in the manifesto each one of them is mentioning that white women are dating black men. I mean, I guess that's what they're blaming black men for quote unquote sleeping with their women or whatever. And I guess that's their way of trying to keep that in line, because that's what they did back in the 50s and the 60s and shit. They used to lynch black men that would, you know, what I'm saying, even try in any regard to attempt to try to get with a white woman or whatever, or try to talk to a white woman, especially if she disdained that, she would make up some story. He tried to do this or whatever, and they'll lynch him. And it's like, I guess the whole shooting thing, the shooting rampage things, is a way to try to keep that in check or whatever. But I mean, it's like, it's just nah. That's it's like okay, um, that's something new. They trying to get that around. They trying to wrap that around their heads, and it's, I guess that's very difficult for them to do so. Because see, here's the thing, right? So for like centuries, white men didn't have to compete for any women for centuries. Slavery, they had the white woman in the house, in check, in tow, in line, in tow. And then they had the slave women that they could, have as much sex as they possibly could and wanted to. And whoever else. I mean, Indian women, I guess, Native American, whatever. And they had that concept was going for a long time. Okay. Uh even past post slavery or whatever, they it's still had access to black women. You know, there's many stories where if you watched even the movie Rosewood, where you know they had access to black women. Even I would even say if the man was married, it's like okay, I heard stories, like BGS was talking about where a man came home after World War I and his wife was knocked up, with a mulatto baby. She got pregnant by some white dude while he was off at war, and he just, still stayed by her and raised the family. And it's like, I mean, that was just kind of how that was how it was. The white guys didn't have to compete for women, and the reason why is because they had, basically the fear of being lynched and castrated, murdered, whatever, because if they had some type of interracial relationship with a white woman and they got caught, and then it was also even outlawed, right? Loving versus Virginia. um so this is all new. This is like fresh off the press, right? That the whole idea of me fucking a white bitch in the back of my van. I mean, that's a no. I'm not supposed to be doing that. But the thing is that you can't stop me from doing that. Okay. If that's what I want to do and she wants to consent, um, you know, I can do it. And it's like that concept for a lot of people, white men primarily, is very it's very new. Is it's not something that they're used to. They're used to having no competition for the mates that they wanted. They had unchecked sexual access, I guess you want to say, to all the women. Pretty much, they, and that's why they didn't never really respected. If if a black man was in a relationship with a black woman, they still in their mind they felt that they always had some type of access to that woman, to that black woman, if even if he was married, because that's how it was on the plantation. Even if the man was married, obviously during slavery, the man had to give up his wife for the slave master. Okay, so it's shit. It's very very new, man. I mean, the young people, they understand it, to a certain extent, but the older people, they're like, oh shit. They got BBC all over their mind. Like it's just in their brain. They just wake up like BBC. Like it's all in their brain. Like, it's all they think about. It's like, yeah, because it's nothing you can do about it. It's like, the women, they don't have control over their women, and they can't control what their women want to do, whatever. Um, and then the thing is that, I mean, um, in the I guess in the essence of equality, which is supposed to be equal rights, right? Or if she want to, if your bitch chose me, she chose me. Step aside. That's how the game goes. So it's like, it's not like these men are raping these women. These white women, they want to be with, if they want to be with a black dude, which a lot of them do, they can go be with a black man if that's what they want. And it's like that concept is it's really fucking very foreign to them. Mainly the older ones, definitely the older ones, and me, even some of the younger women, younger ones, is a hard concept for them to grasp, because it's very new. This shit it's a new, very very new concept. It's like, probably I would say um less than 40 years old, as far as like it being a widespread thing. or concept or whatever, because you know, like I said, it was definitely kind of somewhat mostly checked, um, you know, back in, you know, like the 60s and 40s, 50s, you know, you know, and it's like, okay, 70s it start kind of being more, you know, kind of you start seeing these relationships, you know, um, well, you know, Obama start springing forth and all that. Then the 80s, you know, it came more common. 90s is pretty, you know, it's start to become normal, somewhat normalized. And, you know, it's now it's like, you know, shit. You, I mean, I'm in Indiana. I see, you know, I see white women with, you know, they'll have blended families. Like they have a son, they have a son that's white, that's older, and then they have a little daughter. And then they have a little light skinned baby with curly hair. And you looking like, damn, okay. They got whole blended families and shit. You know, they got mixed families, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you know, or you know, you see them, you know, they got a little black baby or whatever, you know. Or you know, they got a son, like you know what I mean. It's just, you know, they if they want to deal with a black dude, they can, you know. They might, a family might not, they might be somewhat kind of ostracized, or their family might be frowned upon for them, you know, kind of quote unquote dating out or whatever. But they still do it, you know. They still, if they want to do that, that's what they gonna do. And especially if the dude is fucking rich, if a black dude is a fucking NFL athlete, NBA athlete, a rich dude, you know, it makes it even fucking easier. It makes it even, the concept even like a no-brainer, you know. You know what I'm saying? Robert Smith, he, you know, a billionaire, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, how many of those are you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, duh, of course. You know, a millionaire, you know, whatever, or even you got a job, like I said, you work in corporate America, you make $150,000 a year, you got a corporate card and shit. You know what I mean? Like they want to have a good provider or whatever too. I mean, so I mean, they, you know, trying to choose up or whatever. So it's like, yeah, man, it's it's a new concept that, you know, it's like, yeah, they, you know, they can't really do nothing about it. They don't really like it, but it's becoming common. I mean, you know, it's like I say, America's trying to kind of shape shift towards more classism than racism, you know. So you even have, you know, you have the friends, quote unquote friend groups and stuff, and it's like, you know, you have these mixed friends where, okay, the couple is one, you know, black dude with his white friends, and he got a white girlfriend or whatever, a white wife or whatever. You know, you got that type of mix. You know, it's like I say, it's trying to, you know, have some type of, I don't know, like Martin Luther King type dream type lifestyle. You know, everybody joining hands and, you know, living in harmony. I don't know, but um, like I said, I mean, you can't. I mean, you know, in the Midwest was more open towards interracial relationships to a certain extent than like the South, you know. But uh, you still got people, you know, kind of segregated in Chicago. I mean, you know, but you know, it's like, um, you know, if white women want to get with a black dude, shoot, it ain't, you know, it's not nothing that's unusual. It's you know, where, I mean, where I'm from or whatever, it's not I ain't gonna say it's common, but it's not unusual. It's no big deal, you know. But like I said, you know, 50 years ago it was, you know, um, Some people, they go ballistic about it, literally. So, but it's not gonna stop. It's not, it's nothing you could do about it. I mean, you have to, you can't just bully your way into, I guess that's mate guarding. Yeah, like you can't culturally bully, the days of white men culturally mate guarding their women is over. It's pretty much done. It's no they can have a shooting every day. It still won't stop it. It could be a school shooting, supermarket shooting every single day, and it still wouldn't stop, because the just the whole cultural landscape, the whole, you know globalism, the whole world is just changed. It's too much. It's too many things going on at once, and it's not. It just, that those days are pretty much done with. So I mean, they have to come to some type of understanding to, that it's that's not gonna be the way to go. You're gonna have to compete for whatever mate that you want to have. If you want to have somebody, you know, you're gonna have to compete, or travel, whatever the fuck you got to do. Um, you can't just you ain't gonna be able to just, like, mate guard your women to only be with you, and only you, and all that type of shit. That's those days are over with. And I mean, white men are still the probably most selected men, as far as I think dating and stuff like that. So, but that's only, to a certain extent. I mean, it's like, it's with limitations, because it's like, okay, still, I mean, that's only based off of, the fact that, like I said, their, actual wealth and power and stuff like that. I mean, once, you get a lot of black women that actually, they get kind of laughed at, because they'll date a broke white dude, um and they complain about black dudes, but they'll get a broke white dude. And I don't know, I guess a broke white dude is better than a regular black dude, or a well-to-do black dude. I don't know, but that's what whatever they choose. I mean, that's cool with them. Whatever. Um, but yeah, this classist thing is quite interesting. It's getting kind of goofy, though, with the whole LGBT stuff. A lot of people are just kind of like, they're gay. Like, a lot of people, a lot of women are going, they're turning into lesbians. It's like a lesbian it's like a lesbian army that's terraforming into, it's like spreading. It's like widening in and spreading, like Rome. The only thing that I can relate it to is Rome. Like, that's the only thing I can really relate it to. And that's pretty much it. I can't really think of anything else, like, but Rome to compare it to, because that's where that was last, the historical relevance, it was last, pretty much portrayed, was in Rome. You had a lot of debauchery, but you definitely did have a lot of homosexual activities in Rome, ancient Greeks, even in Egypt, but that's not really talked about much. But that's Rome is the last historical relevance that I can point to, of a society that ultimately crumbled. some people say the Rome never fell. Rome. That's where the Roman Catholic Church and all of that type of stuff. The Vatican, is the center of Rome. They holding the Roman Catholic tradition or the Roman tradition. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it ultimately did fall. I mean, um, but I see, like again in America, that's what an extreme feminist is a lesbian. Just like, okay, even you could say an extreme masculinist is a gay dude. You know, because that a woman is a feminist that really really hates men. She, what's the ultimate way that you could really portray that and live that life is to just only be with women. You know, that's why the most extreme form of feminism to me is lesbianism, right? Just as a gay dude, if really don't like women, just go be gay. So you have this element in America that's you know growing, growing steadily, and people, of course, crashing out. A lot of people are crashing out. They're not able to really make it in this society. This society is everly increasing as far as cost of living and being able to survive this society. The 9 to 5 life, is very 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 difficult. That's why a lot of people look at, and this is where I have to question the people that look at people that are quote unquote, because they don't live in the hood or they never lived in the hood, that they're somebody that never lived in a ghetto and don't have any war wounds and shit from the hood is quote unquote a lame or a quote unquote weak person. I don't look at it like that because I lived in the hood and I lived in the suburbs, so I lived on both realms. I lived in a ghetto before, and I lived in a middle class quote unquote suburb. So and then I've been around upper class suburbs. And what I'll say to a person that thinks that a black dude that talks white that lives in the suburbs is a quote unquote weak, lame, or something, I have to remind that person that to live in a okay, the reason why it's called a ghetto is it's actually a word that derived actually from the Jews in Europe. I'm not going to even go into that, but the thing is that it's a poor area, and to live in a poor area, I'm not going to say it's not easy. I mean, or it's easy. It's not. It's very difficult living, but the reason that you live there is because you don't have any money primarily, right? You don't have enough money to live outside of that area. So why is that? That's question one I have to ask for that person that thinks a dude or a person that lives in a suburb and is paying a mortgage, is working a job 9 to 5 every day and all that. Like, okay, how do you get out of that? Why is people that live in those lower socioeconomic areas, right? Why do they live there? How hard or easy is it to earn a living or earn money, right? How easy is it to earn a living? Okay, and to pay okay bills and everything like that, right? Because the hood people are, got Section 8, so that means they don't either have to pay any rent whatsoever, and or because the rent is fully subsidized, right? Or their rent is very very low cost because they get some type of subsidy, and or even it's a lower cost because it's a place where not a lot of people want to live, right? It's a lower cost. It's a lower cost of living. So it takes less money to buy real estate or to pay rent or whatever. Versus, okay, you live in a quote unquote suburbs, right? Or, whatever, where the, weak, lame dudes live, right? Quote unquote. From a person that has the mindset of some person that's in the hood or whatever, looking on the outside. Because, like I said, I lived in both. I don't look at it. I don't look at it like, because I lived in both. It is absolutely hands down tough to live in a quote unquote middle class, suburb or wherever, middle class community, or definitely the upper class. You know why? And if you listened to me before, you heard me talk about this. The reason why is it's tough to earn a living. It's very, very difficult to earn a living, honestly, or legally, right? It means you got a job, right? Mostly, or you have some type of business, right? We are, you all, if you heard, if every time you heard me say how business is tough, you had a dollar, you have a whole bunch of money, because I say it all the time. Okay. So whether you have a job or a business, jobs is easier than business, but jobs are not easy as well. You having to pay a mortgage, paying for cars, because living in the burbs, there ain't really probably no buses like that, not like the city or whatever. Some suburbs have no busing whatsoever. So you have to have cars. You have to pay for the upkeep of those cars. You might have to pay car payments, insurance. You have to pay for a house. You have to pay for housing insurance, taxes, mortgages, lights, gas, utilities, sewage, water. You have to pay for the upkeep of the house, the repairs of house repairs, landscaping costs, cut the grass and all of that, right? Alarm systems, you have to pay for, if you got your kids going to private school, you got to pay for that, or you got to pay daycare if you got small children. uh you know yeah, it's not easy. Trying to make a living, making trying to earn money is very, very difficult, and trying to earn enough money to pay for that lifestyle is very, very difficult. Okay, versus, okay, yeah, it's difficult actually living in the ghetto around, quote unquote hood dudes with guns and all of that, dealing with violence and crime and all of that. Yeah, but you don't have to, pay that much to live there. That's why people live there. Trying to pay for the cost of trying to, pay for a lifestyle to live in a quote unquote middle class neighborhood, you have to be very, very tough to go to work every single day. Even in corporate America, it's not easy. That's why most people don't do it and can't do it, or won't do it, or don't qualify, or not even qualified to do it, because it's very competitive and it's very hard to do. It's not easy. And doing it day in and day out, waking up, getting on the train, going to work, or getting in the car, going to work, and dealing with all of these microaggressions at work, dealing with white folks saying crazy shit, all that weird shit to you, and you can't still on them like you want to, or cuss them out because you get fired. So dealing with that, all of that shit every fucking day, politics and all of that shit at work, those head games and mind games, going home, trying to get some sleep, trying to take care of your kids, paying all these bills, very, very, very competitive, very, very highly, highly difficult. And it takes a tough person mentally, primarily, to deal with all of that. And this is from a person that actually, like I said, I've been in both. I've been in the hoods of been in the ghetto of Chicago. I mean, I was a little kid, my parents were there, when I seen what my parents had to do, and I'm talking about, the 80s, living in Chicago, and moving to the suburbs, seeing my parents struggle trying to pay bills and all of that type of shit, you know. Yeah, it's not. And then me, I've done it. I've done it myself. I mean, I've had a family and married and shit, and paying bills, and I mean, I've done that shit too. Like, and it's not easy. It's just, it is very it's easier on your pockets to technically live in the hood. I mean, I'm be honest with you. That's why I'm there now. I mean, I'm investing in some property, and I'm gonna fix it up and sell it and move the fuck up out of here. But I mean, the thing is easier on your pockets to live in the hood. Like, not most people won't live in the hood because they don't want to have to deal with all of the negatives that come from that. But living living outside the hood, quote unquote, it's not easy. It's very, very, that's why people, if you think that everybody wants to actually live in a hood, they would just they if for example, if people had a way to be to not be in the hood, they would not be in the hood. Trust and believe. The reason they are there because they're not financially competitive enough to get out of that area. And a lot of people, basically what I'm saying is, you might look at somebody that maybe looks like a nerd or a geek or lame, quote unquote, that lives in the suburbs, like they're weak and shit like that. But you don't understand mental. Most people look at things as like being physically tough, but people don't understand mental toughness. It takes a certain level of mental fortitude and toughness in order to pay those bills and work those jobs, go to school, and compete on a intellectual level, that a lot of people don't really understand or even respect. Only probably until they probably move out of the hood. Okay. When you move out of the hood, then you will probably understand. But outside looking in, you won't understand probably. But what I'm saying is, I say that people outside of the hood, quote unquote, paying all of the mortgages, paying double mortgages, car payments, those people are very, very tough. I would even say are tougher than people that live in the hood, because it is very, very difficult to compete financially, deal with jobs that you don't really want to do it. And the people that you work with, like I said, you're dealing with all these microaggressions and even racism or whatever the fuck you dealing with at your job, day in and day out, and trying to come home and decompress and get some type of sleep to do it all again the next day. It's very, very difficult. It's a lot easier to just get some type of subsidy at best. So I'm not saying everybody in the hood gets a fucking Section 8 voucher. I'm not saying it, but some people do, where it just, and then you got people now, they don't even live in the hood and get a Section 8 voucher. They live in the suburbs and get that. And they, they rent is like $100 a month that they gotta pay for out of their pocket, because it's fully, pretty much 95% subsidized or whatever, even 75% subsidized, where they only have to pay like $400 or $500 for their rent. I mean, shoot, that's a lot easier than someone that has to pay for every fucking thing. So it takes a certain level of intellectual, even physical fortitude to live and pay all your bills and take care of all of your financial responsibility. A lot of people don't really think about it like that. It is absolutely very tough to compete financially in this country, and in a lot of countries are like that. It's even worse in other parts of the country, parts of the world, where it's third world and all of that, where it's not, it's not no big economy like the United States and all of its major cities and stuff like that. For example, like the DR. The DR doesn't have any welfare system like the United States. If you don't have any money, if you don't have any credit, it's no credit system like that. If you don't have any money, everything is pretty much cash and carry. If you don't have no money, Ain't no credit to get you out of no to live some type of lifestyle or anything like that. It's whatever you got. If you got enough money to get a tin roof house with tin roofs and some tin metal and like a little shack or some shit, that's what you got. Got enough money to build a house for yourself? That's what you got. If you don't got it, forget about it. Maybe your children will have it. That's how that works. So it's like, yeah, I mean, people and the thing is the black community is what it is. I mean, coming out of slavery, 150 years out of slavery, not that long ago. A lot of black people have backwards thinking. That's why a lot of these women don't respect. They look at guys that are quote unquote not street or hood as men that are not viable mates or quote unquote too weak of a mate, and they don't understand it till they get older and they start having all of these kids. A DNA man is in jail or dead, and then they start to realize how tough this society is, how tough this capitalistic country is on yourself, on your mind, on your body, on your soul. And then they realize, damn, this motherfucker ain't that bad. I was picking the wrong motherfucker. But then, you're 35, you got 7 kids and 4 baby daddies, two dead, one locked up, and the other one's deadbeats. You realize, damn, this motherfucker was the one that was the strongest and smartest and shit. And it's like, every other culture, if you really look at them, that's how they look at things. They're not ass backwards. They look at things how they are. They prize their intellectuals and their scholars and shit like that, and they're trying to get with them and have children and get married and shit like that. Black community look at what we choose, as far as mates and shit like that, as far as the women and stuff. So it's ass backwards, and a lot of us, it's just how we are, and it's just how it is. So I don't know if this is going to change anytime soon, but absolutely. I can tell you hands down, it is very, very competitive to compete in this country financially, legally. I mean, of course, I'm not saying that it's not hard to sell drugs. It's definitely difficult to sell drugs or do illegal things or whatever, because the consequences are very brutal if you do something wrong, or even just that existence is very difficult because you got everybody trying to take your money or even take your life, because the police will shoot you to kill if you selling drugs and stuff like that, because you got crooked cops, you got your own quote unquote drug dealers trying to take your money, take you out so they can take whatever you got, so I'm not saying that those dudes are quote unquote weak or not strong either, but I'm just saying, like, to compete legally in this system and work and try to build a business and all that stuff, it's very, very difficult. It's not to be disrespected or taken lightly either way, whether it's illegal or legal. And definitely, doing things the legal way. Everybody, even the hood dude that's doing illegal shit, he know the legal avenue is tough. They not dumb. They know doing things legally and straight and legit is very, very tough. They not stupid. They understand that, so um I've said quite enough. I don't really have anything more to say. Uh, you know, I, I looked up. Damn near 4 hours in, man. But yeah, I appreciate y'all listening to me, man. What I'm saying. I said quite a bit, man. I mean, I hope I instill a little bit of wisdom, man, into cerebellum, man, and try to kind of share my viewpoints on things. Um, yeah, I don't know what's going on with Sergeant, man. I don't know if he going You know, when I see people blow up their channel, man, and just take all their videos down, I be thinking, okay, maybe they retiring or some shit, or maybe YouTube got them. You know, but you know, I think I leave y'all with this one here. This is, you know,
you gotta start looking at your life. It ain't about going to church or mosque or synagogue or hanging on the corner. You got to be a lot more responsible for the life that God gave you than what you're showing right now. Or you're going to pay a price for wasting God's life. He didn't bring you here for you to waste your life away in foolishness. All the gifts and talents that are buried within yourself that you know are there, and you won't use your gifts, use your talent, make excuses for yourself. You won't be an example for your children or for your community. You got to pay for that.